Hi, good morning, everyone. Welcome to Bilik Maya 3. We're expecting 22 participants for this session. So I believe some of the participants are probably making their way into the room. So we'll just give them a few more minutes before we start, okay?
Yes, I'm ready. Sorry for late.
Hey, hello, salam sejahtera, and good morning, everyone. Welcome to the World Cafe session for the first topic of today. Thank you for taking the time to join this session this morning. My name is Michelle, and I am your facilitator for this discussion. And with me here is Miss Nur Husna, the reporter. She'll be taking notes for the discussion. Can you hear me clearly?
Yes.
Okay, great. Right. I hope you have had a delightful morning this listening to the panels. And now we are going to look at 5 topics for discussion, and we have 2 hours to get through this. So for each topic, we will have about 20 to 25 minutes. So in front of you, you can see the screen, and the topics of discussion is listed there. We have the first one as Kepimpinan, as leadership. The second one is on Kesihatan, mental dan physical. Can you scroll down, Husna, so that the participants can have a look? Right, okay. So we will also talk about family in this particular discussion. Then the third one is on community and also industry involvement. The fourth one is on mobility and international partnership. And lastly, literacy and digital citizenship. Okay, and we will open for other topics of discussion if we have the time. Right, so feel free to share your thoughts and your views either in English or Malay or both languages at the same time. Okay, so for each of these topic, we will look at the 4 main things here. So the first one is on keadaan masa depan yang dikehendaki, that is the desired future state. The second one is keadaan semasa, what we are going through in the current state. And the third one is jurang atau isu yang dikenal pasti, what are the identified issue or gaps. And the last one is pelan tindakan. What do you think is the appropriate action plan for each of these topic of discussion? So are you ready to start? Yes? Okay, so let's talk about the first one on leadership, kepimpinan. As a woman, what do you think is the desired future in terms of kepimpinan for you? Does anybody want to start?
I don't mind to start.
Okay.
Hi, my name is Kyra. I'm from
Hi,
University
Kyra.
Malaysia, Terengganu. I think for us, if we're looking at a woman as being said just now, it's most probably more opportunities in terms of trying to more opportunities to become leaders in various fields, not just in academic, but also in managerial posts. I think that would be something should be pushed forward in our scene here in Malaysia, regardless of if it's in University Awam or if it's in academy or even private sectors and such, and also actually probably in a higher level for decision making in our nation as well. And we have observed that a lot of global discussion has been going around with COVID-19. People have seen that the woman empathy is one of the driving factor actually to ensure and also enable certain nation to overcome the pandemic. I think one of the very good example was New Zealand, how they overcome COVID-19. So I think that's what I would guess in terms of the desired future I want in leadership.
Right. Thank you very much, Dr. Kyra. Anyone else would like to share? Do you agree with Dr. Kyra's thoughts and views? Come on, don't be shy.
Maybe we can start by like going around and just a little bit of introduction of what our backgrounds are. That could also be useful.
Okay,
It
maybe,
sounds-
yeah. That would make everybody less
Yeah.
shy.
So,
Okay, So just now Dr. Kara has introduced herself. Can we have the next person to introduce yourself? I have here in my list here. I go through the participants list. Olia, Dr. Olia.
Okay, hello, hi.
Hi.
Assalamualaikum dan salam sejahtera. Saya Aulia daripada Komuniti Islam Pahang Sultan Ahmad Shah, KUIPSAS, government state punya college, private college. Okay, so I'm a lecturer. I think that's all for introduction.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Olia. Can we have Dr. Jalila?
Hi, Assalamualaikum. Can you all hear me?
Hi.
Assalamualaikum. Can you all hear me?
Can you come closer to the microphone? We can't really hear you clearly.
How about now? Can you all hear me? Right now?
Sounds a bit muffled, but slightly better.
Okay.
Right. Yes, Dr. Dalila.
Okay, sorry. Now is it better? Can you all hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
Slightly better.
Okay, Assalamualaikum and good afternoon, good morning to everyone. I'm Dr. Dalila from Global Health Section in Planning Division, Ministry of Health, Malaysia. I'm full-time working and also full-time mother of 5.
Wow.
That's all. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Dr. Elena, could you please introduce yourself?
Hi, good morning, everyone. My name is Elina. I am from Infrastructure University, Kuala Lumpur, from Bangi. So that's all about me. Thank you.
Right, thank you. Dr. Fazana?
Hello, hi, Assalamualaikum. Saya
Hi.
Fazana Ismail dari Universiti Pendidikan Sultan Idris Tanjung Malim, Perak. Thank you.
Right, and lastly we have Dr. Kyra. Oh, sorry, Dr. Kyra is the same person. Oh,
Yeah.
okay. I think you see Durga in the list of the participants. She is just here to observe. She won't be participating in the discussion. So, okay, there I have it. Wow, actually, now I'm looking at the list. There's only like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. So there are only 5 of you for this discussion. I was actually expecting like 22.
Oh, okay.
So, okay. So never mind. So you have more time to discuss among yourself then. Okay, great. I hope that helps you to be a little bit more not so shy. Okay. This is just a few of us. If you want to turn on your camera, feel free to turn on your camera. Maybe that will make you feel more comfortable in sharing your thoughts with everyone. I don't know. I mean, like personally, I feel, when you're like talking to just the screen and there's nobody there, it's really funny, yeah, really odd. Okay, great. So, coming back to our question, our topic of discussion just now on Kepimpinan, on leadership. So, what about Dr. Olia? What do you think? What is your desired future for women in Malaysia?
I think for us to, how to say, to nurture our young generation to start to become a leader at the young stage. So from maybe from primary school, instead of having the boys as a head prefect, pengawas sekolah, kan? Why not we try to nurture the young women, the young ladies to become a leader from the young generation, and then we could have more women leaders in government sector, maybe government agencies. Because as we can see recently and nowadays, we have more women leaders in private sector, especially in business organization. Yeah,
So
I
you
think that's all
see
from
that
me.
you think that in the public sector, women leaders seems
Yeah,
to be lacking. Okay, all right.
correct.
Okay, okay, thank you. Um, Dr. Dalila, what do you think?
Can you all hear me? Okay.
Yes.
I really like Dr. Alia's point of view in terms of young generation. Just want to add a bit more on that. I think it's good to also hear what Dr. Kaya also mentioned about example in New Zealand. You can see in New Zealand, in Canada, their prime minister is actually very young. In comparison to most of the ASEAN countries or even our countries. So younger generation leadership is it's something fresh and something it brings energy also to the um, to the leadership and this will actually address a lot of issues that pertaining to as you can see, a lot of the issues are also concerning the younger generation. So, having younger generation just to start early is such a great idea. Ideally in the future, the desired future state that we want, we could think of that. I think apart from that is also to allow when we talk about women, right, leadership for women, is to also allow the Prime Minister talking a lot about work balance. So to allow a, a work balance as well. With
Dr.
home.
Dalila,
Yeah.
could you please maybe come closer to the mic to speak because you sound very muffled still. We can really catch a few words, but it's like you're covered by something. I don't know.
Is it better now?
Yep,
Hello?
yep.
Oh,
It's
okay.
better.
I'm really sorry. Is it clearer now?
Yep. Much
Okay.
clearer, right?
Much clearer. Okay. So, okay, basically, I just wanted to say that I agree with Dr. Aulia. I really like the point on having a younger generation to start become a leader because, like, if you can see the Prime Minister in New Zealand and in Canada, they are all very young, and it's not just in terms of them being young, but also to bring forward women, as leaders. And I also like the idea of having to have leaders in the future, where the leaders can also have the luxury of doing leadership while work-life balance. Meaning to say that, I don't know how, but like, to come up with a way where leaders are also flexible in terms of, addressing being a leader, but at the same time also addressing their own families, in a way. So that's my point of view for the time being. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. So nurturing young women leaders who knows how to balance between work and life and also family. Yeah, good one. So what about Dr. Elena? What's your thought on this?
For me, I would like to see more equal opportunity for, especially for women leader, and in the future, no more like certain position only for men. So women also should be given opportunity, for example, to lead let's say the university, to become the vice chancellor, And let's say such positions is not only for male vice chancellor.
Okay, right. Thank you very much. And lastly, Dr. Fazana, can we hear from you, your thoughts?
Yeah, thank you. I think I would like to add on yang Dr. Alia said just now. I'm agree. It's about nurture from young generation, and in fact, from my opinion lah, it's better if we have like such kita kata module lah, memang embedded dalam syllabus. I have no idea which syllabus is the most appropriate, but in term of like polishing girls from start, contohnya dari contoh primary school kan memang ada element of leadership polishing or whatsoever the names, it would something like it's compulsory. Okay, so kita bagi peluang from start so that we can give more opportunity to the girls sepanjang waktu dia dapat the first ataupun earlier education tu, dia tahu apa kepentingan and how it will carry with the leadership in future. So it should be ada module lah kita embed dalam any subject in schools. Yeah. Thank you.
Alright, thank you very much. So makna bagi peluang lah dalam kurikulum sekolah, mesti dalam embedded lah, integrated dalam kurikulum lah.
Yeah.
Okay, terima kasih. Okay, thank you. So now let's move on to the second column where we're going to look at the current state. What do you think is the current state of women leadership in Malaysia or in your community? Anybody want to start?
Can I say something?
Round. Yeah. Oh yes, Dr. Fazana. Okay.
For me, sebenarnya peluang, kita kata peluang itu ada, peluang ada. Cuma kita punya current dari pandangan sistem masyarakat lah, selalunya impression ataupun perception dari masyarakat itu sendiri when it's come to woman leader, sometimes dia macam ada, kita kata bad impression lah. Selalunya macam ada pandangan yang kurang kita kata kurang bagus lah berbanding kalau kita dengar okay, a man leader being appointed to any position kan. So sebab itu kadang-kadang ada wanita ni bila diberi ataupun diberi peluang, dia rasa macam sometimes dia rasa sama ada dia boleh nak bawa ke, ataupun dia rasa macam dia takut apa pandangan masyarakat ataupun sekeliling dia lah. So mungkin perception budaya kita masih belum 100% into woman leadership ni, masih ni, cuma peluang itu ada. Ya, perception and misinterpretation macam tu lah lebih kurang. Thank you.
I think adding on to Dr. Fazana, I would agree that our community can be very judgmental, not just that, and quick to judge, even even before you sort of like produce something, or even before if you were given, for example, a task, even during or even before the time has ended, we already being judged of how we do things, and it's even to the smaller details that we are being scrutinized. And maybe not just to maybe for women we feel a lot more, because it's a bit of it has become a norm for big positions or leadership kind of position to be held by mostly men. And to add on to that, which is also addressing the first part, which I think most of our leaders are quite, I have to say, senior, where we can actually observe that many of the countries globally, obviously,
where you have like developed nation are being led by people who are within like middle age of like 40s, 50s, and so on. But we tend to be more, we are afraid to move to this new level where you give younger generations to try and error of new things and to be a bit more like exploring new opportunities and take the risk. I think we are too afraid to take the risk, and we are also afraid that people will blame us if we make the wrong decision. So um it's the part where you think that you treat failure as failures more than what if you want to learn when you fail something. So I think that's also like not just applying to women, even to men, it also applies. You know, there's since we're going towards like gender equality, I see that these challenges can be applied to both genders. So that's what I feel of the current situation.
Okay, good one, Dr. Kyra. Yep, thank you. Anyone else want to share your thoughts?
Okay, can I add some opinion?
Yeah,
Okay,
yes,
I agree
Dr.
with
Olia.
what Dr. Kaira said. And besides that, maybe the culture, our culture, that men should be the leader. So many women, even though they are capable and have the ability to be a leader, I mean, maybe a better leader, they are afraid to be in front, to ke depan because of that stereotype and also the culture. Even if we have anything we want to organize, for example, programs or jawatan kuasa, we will ask, okay, siapa nak jadi ketua, and we will suggest the man should be the leader. If we say, okay, this women can be a leader, but then people would be rasanya better lelaki kot, perempuan dia emosi sikit, that kind of perception.
Talk about
So
when they
women
lose
afraid to
football.
in front.
Kan?
Yeah, kan. And then for certain things, even women are macam Prof cakap sesi pagi tadi lah. Dia kata women menindas another women. Not by physically but by verbally. Kan macam tak boleh kau perempuan mesti emosi. That kind of perception, and also our culture that we prefer men to be a leader because they are more rational and less emotional compared to women that are more emotional than rational. That kind of perception and also culture factor.
Okay, all right, thank you. So a lot of perceptions, a lot of doubts, a lot of cultural, all the things which are involved in how
I
we
think there's
view
also
women
this
in power.
I think Dr. Alia and also Michelle, I think there's this thin line between emotional and being empathy. So people always think that
Correct.
women are like more emotional, right? But I think that's
Correct.
more like sometimes it's more of an empathy, you know, towards things and situation. Yeah, so I don't know why we are always regarded as this people with very high emotional. So
Correct. That's why it will be related to the future that someone point out just now about apa ni leadership and women leadership to be a part of syllabus, so that people would differentiate emotional and being empathy. That is
yes.
good opinion, I think.
That's true. That's true. Good one. Good one.
Yeah, and also
Yes,
when
Dr.
you
Dalila.
yeah, and also when you actually incorporate it in the leadership, you actually sensitize
You
how
want
we
to put
think.
your mic closer to you so that we can hear more clearly?
So
Yeah.
when we can you hear me now?
Slightly better, yeah.
Okay. So when we actually put it into the into the module, we actually help to sensitize the community as well. So sometimes we think that it's just among the leaders, right? We think it's just among the leaders or other people's perception, but it's also to sensitize the community on how they perceive the leaders. Like I think like you're saying, culture is like for our country, we are so used to having in the mind that it's supposed to be man instead of women. Yeah.
Right. Good. Okay, thank you.
Yeah,
Dr. Elena, would you like
I
to
want
add?
to add a little bit.
Okay, yes, Dr. Olia.
Maybe also in the future we should educate people to appreciate women opinion and education background, and then their words that they speak more than their physical attraction.
Mhm.
Because I've seen that especially macam sekarang ni COVID punya issues kan. Macam hari tu bila viral kalau tak silap Datuk Rina, I think people are
Yeah,
more concerned about her physical
a physical.
changes instead
Yeah.
of her opinion and
Mhm.
what she want to say. Maybe that one should be included in the future kot. Kan we appreciate women punya apa ni opinion and dia punya information education that they want to give instead of physical appearance.
Betul, macam buah fikiran, like your idea
Yeah.
more than how you look. I mean, obviously first impression is important, tapi I think this is also being addressed in Hollywood before this, because every time bila ada awards, they will be asked about like, oh, where do you get this
Correct.
dress from? Kan?
Correct,
But not
exactly.
entirely about like what's your role in that particular movie or whatsoever. So I think
Betul.
it's actually a global apa punya problem lah, and
Yes.
we really should, yeah, people never ask like, kalau you macam kalau macam some menteri yang macam really terlalu gemuk sampai obesity, people don't actually say anything about that. But when it comes to women, kalau they lose weight or kalau they gain weight, that would be like the first thing people notice more than what she said just now. So
Correct.
yeah.
That's betul.
So this is all the how to say, the perspective that the community has on women. Yeah.
Yeah. The thing we have to live up to, taking care of 5 kids, but at the same time to put a smile and a lipstick. Macam tu lah.
Betul. Kadang-kadang even dalam
Kan?
meeting pun, bila kita nak suara apa-apa, kan, kita nak cakap, orang akan, lawa lah baju you hari ni, lawa lah makeup you hari ni, lawa lah tudung you hari ni, instead of what I'm trying to say. Yang macam tu lah.
Memang pun.
Alright.
Okay. Dr. Elena, what about you? What do you think? Dr. Elena has been quiet. You have anything to share, to add on?
Basically, I agree with the others' opinion. I do have similar opinion with them too. So I think that whatever that they have mentioned should be okay.
Okay, thank you. I think some of the things that were mentioned earlier could also be put into the action plan. But before we move into the action plan, perhaps let's look at the gaps as well. I think we also did mention a little bit of gaps of the issue that we have here. So if you could scroll up, Husna. So I think one of the things that were mentioned as the issue here is the society's perception, if I'm not wrong. Yeah. I think in my opinion, I have also heard stories of such where the perception that the society have on women, especially when it comes to like service industry, like the hotel and tourism industry. What I understand from my colleagues, I'm not from the hospitality or tourism, I'm actually in the language studies, but my colleagues actually shared with me in hospitality and tourism, it's really very difficult for women to rise in position, partly because of the perception that the society will have on you. Certain things which are kind of like discrimination in a way, where how do you say, they will always ask if you are pregnant or if you're planning to get pregnant, because they don't want to have to hire somebody else to replace you. Because if you're in the service industry, you have to be there, especially like, let's say if you're a receptionist in the front desk, you have to be there. So these are some of the, I would say, some kind of discrimination also that is set by the society on on women. Yeah. So I think that's kind of like one of the issues that we have in terms of the opportunities given to leadership. Okay. So I think the second one that was mentioned just now was about the choice of words or topics that are kind of like being brought up when you see women in leadership, right? Okay,
Yeah.
so maybe Husna, you want to put that down as well. The one on where just now Dr. Olia said that when you want to say something that will, oh, tudung cantik or baju kurung cantik, you know, that kind of thing. Instead of focusing on the gist of what the meeting is about or what the thought or proposal is about, they're always focused on the physical outlook. Yeah, not so much
Yeah, I think
on
there's always
having a meal.
a time and place for that. I mean, everyone loves a compliment, but maybe that's for more like when you're mingling during tea time or something like that,
Yeah,
right?
correct.
Not when you're like actually trying to present some very important matters or things like this. And regarding the issue that Michelle brought up about the pregnancy, I also feel that in terms of like when we're looking into gender equality kan, macam dekat Malaysia we don't have this paternity leave. I mean they are in kerajaan. I think there's like 2 weeks, is it, or is it a week, something like that. Yeah, I think we should also look into we should consider that because it's part of our only women can get pregnant, right? So we have to consider that as part of their career path as well. Like there are things that we accommodate for men, then we also have to accommodate these rules and regulation for women. So I think that is gender equality. It's not having everything the same, but it's more like trying to address both challenges and issues of which we will have to go through during our career path. So also when you're giving birth, it's not just woman's responsibility to to basically membesarkan anak tu no matter at what age. So I also feel that paternity leave should also be something that be addressed. It's a gap that is 2 weeks enough for him to support the mother who just have given birth. So it should be considered, and that is also I think a gap where we have to address issues to accommodate both gender. Yeah, so.
That's well said. Yep, that's right, Dr. Khaira. I think that portion can also be put as one of the action plan. Yeah, that to be
correct.
accommodating, to have paternity leave applied for everybody across. Although now I do know that some organizations do have, like you mentioned there, like 2 weeks, but is that really enough? Probably we need to look into how we actually provide all this support to new mothers and new fathers. Yeah. Okay. So maybe Husna, you can move some of the points over to the action plan. You might not have the time to do it now, but it's okay. I think maybe afterwards you can kind of like pull out the thoughts and put it into the action plan. Yeah, a bit behind time now.
Just put
Short of
the
time.
keyword. Just put keyword instead of
Some
writing
keywords, yeah.
everything.
Yeah. Yep, that's right. Husna, you tidy it up later on, yeah? Okay. Is there anything else you want to add to this particular point on leadership? If not, we will move on to the next one. Yes, Dr. Dalila, you want to say something?
I think the keyword maybe for the one not just the paternal leave, but I think what the issue is actually more on under the keyword of like most of the system is not accommodating to the women. So maksudnya bukan sahaja macam masalah pasal paternity leave, but contohnya macam the office they don't have a proper nursery for the kids because we want to work, right? We want to be leaders, but who's taking care of our kids? So it's like to cater. So it's one of the issues. Is actually in general you would say like system that's facilitating towards women. That includes policies and all that. To support the women, which include as well as the paternal leave. Places to put children at nurseries, things like that. Yep, that will be it.
Yep, right on point, Dr. Dalila. Yes. So that's like really related to the structural perspective that Dr. Asma presented just now. Yeah. Okay. So it's the system that is not entirely supporting what we actually need. Okay,
Mhm.
thank you. All right. So shall we move on to the next one on health? Yep, the next topic of discussion on health. Krishna, maybe you want to scroll down. So the next one is on not just physical health, but to me, actually, I think with this whole pandemic that we're
Mental
going
health.
through, mental health, it's just, it's there,
Correct.
but it's not really addressed. And especially for Asians, people are really shy to talk about mental health. But I think I
Yeah.
personally feel that every one of us now suffer from mental health due to
Correct.
the whole pandemic and the whole lockdown. So,
Betul.
um, what do you, I mean, how do you hope that future will be for our mental health and also
Women
physical
are
health? Yeah.
brave. Women are brave enough to voice out their mental health condition. Because I think
Yeah.
currently people are afraid to tell that I'm exhausted, I can't handle this because they are afraid that people will judge them. So I hope that in the future women are brave enough to express their feelings
Very
so
true.
that
Yeah.
we could prevent those suicide attempt cases can, and then murder cases that done by the mother to the children. We can prevent those if they are brave enough to express their feelings, and also for the society to accept their opinion, their feelings. uh, I hope that.
So
Yeah,
that's
I
like
think not just.
normalizing mental health. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, normalizing mental health, correct.
Yeah, that's true. Okay.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah, I
Dr.
think
Alia?
not just normalizing, and also actually to one is that we have to be brave, and then we also have to have the proper channel so that our vent, when we vent out or when we express our frustration and all of this, there's a action taken afterwards, because nowadays
Correct.
maybe people want to in a way express their feelings, but there's no action plan after that. So what do we do now? And I think that is what is needed at either organizational level, or just within your department and so on, to actually provide a support for this. So what happen if this
Correct.
person go to this person, and you can see and you can notice the person has a certain symptom that shows that she is particularly not in a very great condition. Like prior, you have like some much more a dire problem. So you actually address that first. And I think we have to have this channel. So a proper channel where people know who to talk to and what to, to raise red flags on this person, that she needs some, some help and so on. And obviously we need to have in a way, kita kena ada satu sistem yang mana kita boleh lah kan untuk buat aduan dan sebagainya. Dan
Correct.
there's an ending to it. There's a
Betul.
end. I mean, bukan macam ada penyelesaian lah at the end of the tunnel. It's not just like another black hole. So
Betul. Maybe
yeah.
Ministry of Women and so on kan, Kementerian Pembangunan Wanita and so on tu panjang kan nama dia kan, can do some action plan to cater these issues. And also for the organization to have a strong support on this matter, because some organization they feel that sometimes people are just pretending to have a mental health problem.
Yes.
Yeah, so maybe they also should have a strong system and support for their workers, especially women
And
workers, and
yeah,
also
and
men. Exactly.
yeah, men and women. And I think confidentiality is also important,
Correct.
because when you share to another person and suddenly like the whole organization knows that you are
Betul.
having certain kind of problem. So
And so people were afraid
sebabkan
then.
tu, yes. And then bila orang dah nampak, orang akan, okay, I think this is not the right channel. Because semua orang tahu pasal you punya masalah last kali. So that's why I say like proper channel perlu ada, di mana macam you can voice out your concern, but lepas tu at the same time dia tak adalah macam buka pekong di dada lah basically kan. So
At the moment, the social media seems to be the most the place where a lot of people venting out. You can see that, and actually that's also can be worrying, because macam like in terms terms of mental health, like Dr. Khaira was saying, kan membuka pekong, not just like on the family. So that will actually make it a vicious cycle for the situation to be even more worse, kan?
Yep.
Yeah, and I think that macam it's actually all the outlets and all that. I think that can be in our plan of action in the column there, where we actually have what's what we should do in the future. Actually, we do have outlet macam sebenarnya for mental health ni sebenarnya there's a proper way in terms of like how medically it should be assessed. Cuma what we don't have at the moment is like you say macam contohnya lah dekat office, like the proper flow of it. I think that's not clear so much, yang membuatkan women especially takut being judged, kan? And that's one thing if going to work. Like you can also have example, contohnya yang lepas bersalin, all the maternal blues, maternal depression. So that's what's happening at home pula, So those are also ways we have a lot of like tele, all those lines. But again, macam how are we following up with that? I really like that point. So we need to think of ways on how to follow up. Macam, yes, they have vented out in that outlet, but then who's looking after or following up whether they are okay or not? So itu, I think all of that should be also in the plan of action where a proper flow should be there lah, to improve in the future, kan?
So one of the action points could be a proper system that could be developed where you can actually close the cycle and address the whole issue. Yeah, I think the other thing that I think a few of you brought up as well is about how people perceive women, with mental health issue, and just as what was presented earlier by the panels as well. I think it's about women being very judgmental of their own kind. That's something I think that we should also address. How do we be more real, be more true, and be more honest with ourselves and also with our sisters? Yeah. So I think that should help to kind of like normalize that. Well, it's normal to go through problems, to have whatever issues with yourself, with your mental or with your physical, especially after giving birth and so on. I think that should come from just sometimes the system is just not enough, but also us, any one of us, the individuals, to be supportive there. Yeah. Okay. I see some new participants. Yes, Dr. Fazana. Sure.
I think we should improvise our system. Macam contoh sekarang in current situation kan, people stay at home dan dia rasa macam sometimes women dia feel burdened with the family and work in the same time. So kalau tiba-tiba time pandemic ni saja baru macam di organisasi tu promote untuk tell your problem, tell what you feel right now, it's some sort like it's not very convenient. So it should be practice from the small circle, maksudnya start daripada unit ataupun jabatan, ada personal in charge yang should cater with any problem like more on personal issue lah, and then connect with the higher position like NIOSH. We have occupational safety and health in organisation, so they have to play their roles. Sebab sebelum ni pada saya lah, my own experience, certain macam yang bertanggungjawab lah di NIOSH ni, kadang-kadang dia lebih more on like safety not in term of mental, it more like physical injury, something like that. So for mental issue ni, it's come like more privacy. So I'm agree with someone just said just now, it should be integrate and keep privacy lah. Kita tak boleh expose, walaupun kita menulis di media sosial, tak tulis nama dan sebagainya, tapi it's menggambarkan problem orang yang datang untuk mengadu. So nanti dia bila dia baca, dia feel insecure, dia rasa oh somebody tell my problem kan. So it should be very organized in term of system, and boleh main peranan anytime, bukan hanya sekadar waktu pandemik saja, tapi dia implies every day. So people will be more convenient to come and tell them their problem ataupun their issue freely dan tak rasa insecure lah dengan tindakan tu. Okay.
Memang
Can I
betul ya.
add something to Dr. Fazana just now?
Yep, sure.
So I actually basically agree with all. So the support system for me should start from the very basic, macam jabatan, unit. Jangan tunggu sampai macam staff find their own way to channel their mental health. So they might go into the negative one, the wrong channel. And then macam organisation juga tak could not expect that their employee to deal with their own on this mental health issue. Okay, I'm not supposed to macam okay, we are all work from home now, so you have to make sure that you work from 8 to 5, but how are you going to deal with this 8 to 5? You handle it on your own, like you make sure that you have the internet access, you make sure that you have the laptop, all the equipment, but there are no support from them, because all those things like this infrastructure or the equipment that we need, for example, to work from home, can contribute to this mental health and stress level, burnout, and so on.
Right, thank you very much, Dr. Elena. Yes, very true. I think it's really about reaching out to people who are in need rather than waiting for them to actually come to us when they are, in need of help. Yeah, but because by that time it probably go to the wrong channel, go into the wrong hands, or the problem could be so bad that it's really very hard to salvage at times. So it's about having a plan where we can actually reach out to those who are really in need. Like a few of you have mentioned, starting from the jabatan, maybe ketua jabatan ke, maybe there could be somebody in the jabatan who is especially designated to be the emotional health checker for the department, especially in this time of everybody working from home. Okay, great. So I think some of the things that you mentioned just now is actually leading to the current state that is already in, and also the gaps and also the action plan. So maybe Husna, afterwards you can actually move some of the keywords and the points over to the second, third, and the fourth column. Yeah. Okay, Husna. I think you got disconnected a little bit just now. Okay. So I guess you got the points down there in the first column. So you need to move it over afterwards. Okay, right. Let's move on to the next one. But before that, I see some new participants in this discussion here. Dr. Asmawati. Would you like to introduce yourself, Dr. Asmawati?
All right. I'm sorry that I've been late today because
Okay.
I'm not feeling well, so I have to go to the clinic so that they can check me if I have, because I have like mild symptoms of COVID. So all right.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I hope you feel better soon.
Yeah, I hope so. Even though I've full vaccinated, but yeah, I still have to take care of myself. All right. My name is Asmawati binti J. Ismail, and I am currently with UIA as Senior Assistant Director at the Nursing Faculty, Kuantan campus. All right. I think, yeah. All right. I think that's all for me.
Dr. Hiliana, I see you've just joined us. Would you please introduce yourself? Dr. Michelle Su.
Hi, can you hear me? Hello.
Yes.
Hi, I'm sorry I was late. I had another meeting, so I
Good.
joined a little late.
Okay.
I'm from UCSR University, KL.
Right.
Yeah.
Great. Thank you. Nice to
Thank
meet you.
you.
Right. So let's move on to the third topic of the third focus that we have here. It's on community and industry involvement. What is your desired future in terms of community and industry involvement for women? How do you think women should be involved in all this community work or even in industry, you know? Anyone would like to start?
Hmm.
Sorry, can I add?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm not so sure whether my point would be related to this Libatsama community and industry or not. But I would like to add on some points like how can we macam mana nak cakap, how can we avoid some of sometimes in the organization the male leader they tend to macam mana nak cakap, have some gender bias to female leader, especially the young one. So sometimes they did not want to get the woman leader to participate in any programs or anything that so they some of the programs sometimes dominated by the male leaders. So how can we add on this point so that we can have some solutions for these issues?
So your desired future for this kind of community and industry involvement would be a more equal opportunity for
Yes,
women.
yeah.
Rather than it's just all given to male.
Yes, of course.
Okay. All right. Okay. Anyone else?
I have I don't know if I'm pitching this right, but so we are saying that basically Libatsama is involvement, is it like community involvement for women leaders or how is it like? What is the pitching for?
I think it doesn't necessarily have to be a woman as a leader. I think it can just be a woman as, you know, your role as a woman. How do you be involved in supporting the community, or how can we get
alright,
more
okay.
involved in the
In the
industry
industry.
to
Okay.
you know, to build the society or to build the nation?
So I think in my case, so I'm a geologist, so my background is geology. I'm a marine geologist, and obviously in my field, there's very little people. There's, I mean, not saying little. There's kind of plenty of women as well, but what I can say is that when we were younger, you know, in school, I think most of us actually go through this stage whereby there's sort of a stereotype of like, so this is the kind of career that guys would have. This is the kind of career that women would have. So I think we should totally abolish that kind of thinking, or we should not impart that kind of thinking either in women or in, you know, male students or female students, that, you know, if you want to become this and this, this is a very a feminine kind of career. There's no such thing of like feminine and masculine kind of career. So it can be both, can be addressed by both, even if it's like a pipeline engineer, or even if it's a oil rig engineer. If you go to geophysicists, geologists, and you know, earth scientists, and things like this. So we should not have this kind of settings, especially at the very start of schooling. You know, in primary, we sort of like, we also have this where we, kalau kita lukis orang kan macam polis, usually it's lelaki or something like that. So we sort of like impart these early visuals into kids even at a very younger generation. So without secara tak langsung, we have impart something in them that this career is meant for women or majority are women and this career is majority are men. So for example like nursing, banyak perempuan. Tapi tak semestinya ia perlu perempuan macam tu. So I think we should actually sort of like break the bond of this career and gender sort of stereotyping into gender. So that's what I would guess.
Okay, so
Yeah.
breaking the stereotyping idea of career.
Yeah, towards
Okay.
gender probably.
All right. Okay. Okay. Any other points that you like to bring up for the rest of you? Anyone want to add anything? Quiet.
I think maybe
Okay.
from the industry also, they should not have that kind of stereotype that Dr. Khaira mentioned just now, because I think some of people from industry, they prefer to work with a male lecturer besides women lecturers, because they think that maybe women's lecturers think too complicated. They have too many things in mind, and they are more straight, they are more garang, they are more that kind of stereotype. So they would prefer to have a male lecturer to collaborate with. So maybe people from industry should not have that kind of perception also. Mm. And then maybe the organization itself, universities and university college and the higher learning institution itself should highlight both gender are equal in terms of collaborative action with the industry. Because sometimes when the leader itself, when the industrial people try to reach the organization, want to collaborate, even the leader would suggest the male workers instead of the women workers, because they find that maybe the male workers would collaborate more rationally, and then senang nak bekerjasama lah, easy to work with compared to the women. I think
Adding
that's
on
all.
to that, adding on to that, I just have one more point. I think this is based on my experience as well. While I was on the ship, I hope that the industry and also the community stop objectifying women, in a way that when you're in a big crowd of guys and you're like maybe the one of two of women, they start to either compare you or making you like a how do you say like not a trophy but more like, okay, so you be the pretty picture in this for example a voyage for a scientific voyage. Yes,
Correct. Betul.
but no, I am there as a marine geologist, so why am I not, why can't that guy be the pretty picture of this voyage? Why does it have to be me? And you're being like objectified, like we need you here because seronok ada seorang dua perempuan. I don't like that kind of comment, but I get that a lot, especially when I was on a few scientific vessel. And I have to say, I feel that a lot more here in Malaysia, rather than when I was outside. So I also had some opportunities to go on the ship. And not only that, I was also subjected to harassment orally by words, like what they want to do to me. And they talk to me
Oh my
like
God.
in a place where I can hear them, but it's like yeah. So it happens, and this is the real world, and what women are facing while you're like in a job of many guys, and some of them are obviously they in the end like sort of like apologize by on behalf, and that person who actually talk about you is not the one who repent. Yeah, so there are a few people who actually acknowledge this problem, but it's not being taken care of at the level where it should be. It's not being addressed to the level where managerial. It's more like people who feel that oh, this is not how it's supposed to be. It's on a personal level. So I think it's wrong, because to whoever that actually talks to me or about me that way is the one who should actually apologize, but it's some other people who's apologizing on behalf. So this is what actually happened in the real world. Yeah.
Correct.
Right.
So
True.
for collaboration between industry and community should be highlight on the expertise and the knowledge instead of the appearance, and also some stereotypes. For example, kalau kata in certain meetings, women biasanya dia akan address, okay, women akan buat semua kerja-kerja secretaries, you know. And then yang voice out opinion should be the man. If the women want to voice out their opinion, you just take note what we are saying. That is your job. That kind of stereotype, I think.
Right, that's true. So I see some of the points that you have mentioned there just now is actually stating the current
state
of what it is
Correct.
now. So that it seems to me that there is a lot of stereotyping, a lot of objectifying women, a lot of negative perceptions on women, yeah, using words or phrases which are not appropriate for women, yeah. So you also mentioned about the action plan just now earlier when we talk about opportunities for career opportunities should not be stereotyped. I think that should really start from schools, like you mentioned just now, Dr. Kyra. You know, when you were young, you were asked to draw a picture of a police. It always turns out to be a male. Yeah, when you're asked to draw a nurse, it always turns out to be a female. Yeah,
Yes.
I mean, I grew up thinking of it that way as well, and I
Yeah.
still remember the first time someone actually told me that he is a nurse, and I was like, what? How can he be a nurse? You know? So yeah, I mean that actually came to me was like, how can a person be a how can your friend who is a male be a nurse? You know, that kind of thing. And that actually opened up my mind. I mean, I started to think more about other professions which are just so stereotyped. Yeah. So yeah, I do agree that that should go to the action plan, that we should start to embed that in schools, that you should not stereotype careers or job opportunities like that from the start.
Right.
I think in some schools, the teachers do try to do it, but probably it's not wholesome is enough for the entire education to reform, to change the youngsters' mind. So maybe we should start with textbooks.
Probably.
Yes, I think so.
And also the old generation.
Yeah, that's right. Okay. Does anyone have anything else to add to this here on community industry involvement? Dr. Michelle Su, would you like to share anything?
Okay, what I'm going to say may seem a little controversial, but I think it also starts with upbringing at home, about how we raise our boys, right? So how we raise our boys will determine the kind of men they become and whether they objectify women or not, and the role that they play, you know, in their community because of how they're raised at home by their mothers and their fathers. So I think I agree with the comment that boys need to be, we need to educate our girls and boys in school, but at home, it also does matter how they are raised by their parents and also within the community that they are in. Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, and I really like that point as well. I really like that point as well because it's how we raise them and also it's the action. Like for example, you know how we train our boys to actually do the housework. It actually helps later in the future for them to understand that you know it's not just housework; it's all for girls. That's one of the example. You know, so they know that it's actually their responsibility as well to help out with the housework, with you know the chores, and uh, it goes back to again the action because kids they usually will they don't really listen. They are more of a role model, so they will actually follow your footsteps. So when they see you do, they will actually follow. So that's my last point to share on that. Thank you.
Right. Thank you very much, Dr. Dalila. So education starts from home, yeah? Okay, so that's the key word there. Okay. All right. Let's move on to the next one on mobility and international partnership. How do you think the future should be for women in this how can we work towards more mobility? I think Dr. Asma mentioned about mobility. Most of the time, women somehow we are kind of like rooted, especially when we start a family. It's really difficult for us to be mobile. Yeah. But how can we be more involved in terms of the international partnership then? What would the desired future be like for women?
I think what we have right now should be apa nak kata patut lebih banyak diperbanyakkan pada masa hadapan. What we are doing right now, webinar, international webinar. Because mobility is not just we should be there, because in digitalized world nowadays, we can be in a digital world for mobility and international collaboration. So besides maybe international webinar collaboration by doing it secara digitalized, secara digital.
So,
In
boleh
the future.
kata satu
Because
kebaikan lah dengan pandemik ini kan dah banyak ada
that
webinar
is
macam
one
ni.
of the good things about the pandemic actually. We can work from home. Before this, when we said that we can work from home, people won't believe it. People would say that we will do other thing and so on kan. But then when the pandemic happened, we can actually work from home.
Ya, memang
Yeah,
juga.
yeah, I agree. I agree. That's like the positive side of working from home because some people do actually function better at home. Like some cannot. I mean, like I agree. It's a blur line between working, about work and life balance. There's a thin line of that. But then, if we in a certain career, it's more of like how do you say? It's a performance oriented. So as long as you get things done, it's okay. It doesn't matter. Maybe some will take like 5 hours to do a thing, but some may take 1 hour, and the other 4 hours she can take care of like the kids punya makanan, nak masak ke, nak whatever ke. It doesn't matter. I think it depends on what is your role in that organization. And if performance wise you are performing well, it doesn't matter if you have to work 7 hours or 5 hours or and so on. So that depends as well on how are you being evaluated or how are you being evaluated in terms of what your deliverables are in terms of your working environment. So, and also I think about like being online. Yeah, that's also a part of mobility because you don't have to be there to actually be there. And in a way that maybe in future what we need is a better internet connection and a higher bandwidth. That would be great. I would definitely appreciate that more. So there's no more people who saying that, sorry, I can't be with you because of the, I mean, yeah, obviously internet connection and blah blah blah. But there's also a way to make sure that we can accommodate this, and that's definitely would help in terms of like international mobility, and also because internationally it's quite expensive to just move around and you have to take days off, and maybe just being there for that few hours can make you a lot more efficient because you don't have to be ready to travel to be there unless it's really something that you have to be there to physically engage with people. There's a lot of things that can be done nowadays just not by being there. So yeah, I totally agree with Alia. So
yeah, maybe we should involve we should have a collaboration between the telecommunication companies. They should do more to provide a better internet connection. They also need to have international collaboration with other telecommunication companies from the overseas to provide a better connection for us.
Perhaps we should invite Dr. Charlene to be in
yeah,
here.
can be here. Yeah, she's part of the episode. R&D lagi.
Yeah. Yes, that's right. So definitely opportunities are there. It's just that we just need to have better technological infrastructure to support our work for more mobility and national partnerships, right?
And I think I also like the idea of like the international webinar because like for my work field, we're dealing a lot with WHO, for example. Like here, we are with ASEAN countries as well. So before this, we find it difficult to actually get more people to be exposed international, right? Like all the
correct.
seminars, for example, the World Health Assembly recently. So more people can actually access to it just because of the webinar and the digital platform. I think the only thing that we may want to improve, or what we want to see in the future, is how to access it. Meaning we have a proper platform where more people can, like for example, we know that Kerjasama Antarabangsa, so we can have like I'm speaking on behalf of like the medical perspective. Like we know that we can engage WHO, ASEAN, but maybe a website or a proper way on how to get connected, because then we know that we can via the webinar and all, but how do we know there's more webinars related to our field for the women to actually join in? Because I noticed that now, like we have it, but we must think of how to actually wawarkan, like how to advertise it so that we can get more people to actually participate and link in this through this platform webinar and all, to be connected with the international platform. That's all. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Dalila. So better linkages so that we are more
Mm,
more known to what is around us, so that we can
yes,
connect and work together better. Yeah.
and
Okay, good
utilize
one.
it more. Yep, yep.
Good one. Thank you. Anything else from the rest? Dr. Helena, are you here? Do you want to give us your thoughts? Not getting any response from her. Any one of you? Yes, Dr.
Michelle, can I
Nishasu?
say something?
Yes.
Hi. Okay. So I think before we talk about all these connections with telecommunications and stuff, right? But I think one way for us to ensure that we help other women is also, is to actually help other women, because you have got young researchers, young women researchers who are just embarking on their career. For example, after a postdoctoral research fellowship, you go into being a lecturer or a researcher. Sometimes it's very important that the older or the more, the wiser, or the more senior professors or the researchers kind of like take these young researchers under their wing to introduce them to their collaborative partners, or to open their eyes towards whatever that is nationally. Yeah, basically I think sometimes some of us do need some support from the more experienced lecturers or the more experienced researchers to actually help bring up other women. Women should help women, to introduce them to their international collaborators, to bring them out of just being in our own little universities in Malaysia. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, good one. Good one. Yeah. So good mentorship. Yeah. Good mentorship from our existing leaders already. Okay. Yeah. Anyone else to share? Okay, good. We are on very good timing. Let's move to the last topic on literasi dan kewarganegaraan digital. Okay, so literacy and digital citizenship.
Digital
So what
citizenship.
do you think is the future for women in this area in terms of literacy and digital leadership? Digital citizenship. Anybody have any thoughts?
So let me just truthfully, I don't know what's that. So
Uh-huh.
I thought of just like Googled it, and it says that
Okay.
it refers to a person who has the knowledge and skills to effectively use digital technologies to communicate with others. So I guess that would be like our responsibility, or are you saying that just in general, the literacy and also the citizenship
I
for
think
the nation?
I think is for us women, how can we have better digital literacy? How can we be better digital citizens in this
Okay.
new era?
Understood.
Or maybe like, do you think we are already, maybe we start with the current state, yeah? Do you
Yeah,
think
that
we
would be good.
are already very literate digitally, women?
I think we are forced to be ready because of the pandemic. Everyone was forced to learn how to use WebEx, how
Correct.
to use Zoom. I think before this, at like the first stage of the COVID, there was a lot of like senior lecturers who were having difficulties, and we did a lot of like the younger generation had to do a lot more seminar to actually educate them into this trying to wiggle around digital stuff. So maybe, but there's a lot of platform now where you can actually educate yourself. So maybe what we need
Correct.
is to actually impart. So if us as lecturers, we have a lot of these like learning outcomes where one of it is like lifelong learning, but most of the lecturers are not the one who's been doing it. That's what I feel, because for a lifelong learning, it has to be anything that is new, right? So it is also the digital being very much technological oriented as well. So I think women should be prepared to evolve in a way that how the world are moving as well, and we have to again we have to accommodate them so that they have this urge and this responsibility to educate themselves in order for them to be efficient and know how to use technological things, not just for women but for people of general public as well. So to me, if we say about currently, we were forced to, and especially people who really have to definitely work from home and not being there, like our frontliners and things like this. So
Mm.
yeah.
Okay, for me, I have two opinion. Okay, for the first
Mhm.
one, just like what Dr. Khaira said, we are forced to adapt to this technology, not just us, the educators, but also the students and also the communities itself. But what is more important is how to use it ethically. So we need to
Mm.
stress on that. How to use the with ethics, a proper values, because we can see that people are using it. People are literal enough to use digital application and so on, but they are not using it ethically. They share the fake news. They are prone to conspiracy theory, kan? So we should have a proper digital literacy education to
Mhm.
use it more ethically. That
Mhm.
the first one. And then when we talk about digital literacy and also digital citizenship, when we said that we are forced to do it, I think I believe that only the M40 and T20 are forced to adapt to it, and
Mm.
B40 they are being left out. they
Mm.
they even don't have a smartphone for some of them, and even some of them they have the smartphone but they use it very minimal for a certain purpose, only for call
Mhm.
and then messaging and then maybe WhatsApp if they are
Mm.
able to do it. So maybe I don't know, maybe the government or the educators can also help the B40 community
Mhm.
to be digital literal, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's a gap there. That's a gap where, like Dr. Alia said, that can be addressed in the gap, and then the solution
Correct.
might be that maybe we have to re-evaluate our curricular system, like the whole, our education from daripada tadika and so on, from pre-K
Betul.
until we really need to look back. It can't be
Hmm.
the same, and it cannot just. I don't know, but I don't have kids, but I have like nieces and nephews, and I see that for Malaysia, our problem is that we usually add more things into what we have to learn, but not in a way, not fine tuning or refining what we learn.
Correct.
So students are burdened with knowledge, but they
A
don't know
lot
how to
of
use
workload
it. Like,
and also
yeah, a lot
correct.
of workload. But what is needed is more like what you can learn out of like all this knowledge. How do you impart that into being a good citizen, being a good worker, being a good leader, being a good follower. It's not there in the curricular system. So I think we really need to reevaluate and reassess how we do things in terms of education. There is a big gap there, and
Correct.
people who are for us in for lecturers, when we first welcome the students in the first year, it seems that they know nothing. I mean, like know nothing, but they are very much structurally oriented into this box of high schools and schools and memorizing things and not really critically thinking about things. So, and I think we need to look back on how we actually, educate our kids from even before, from home, pre-K, and so on. So,
Right.
Right. So not getting the education system to be know everything, but knowing what is the must know, good to know, awesome to know, need to know kind of thing. Yeah.
yeah.
So we really have to think about how to put all these things in a proper perspective. Yes, and I think it's really important that the digital literacy is actually embedded into the education system, especially after going through this whole pandemic now. Being able to use digital infrastructure wisely and correctly is something that we all need to learn, and it should start from the very beginning. So some of the things that we brought up just now is how to use it ethically. We also need to teach students, that there are a lot of scams out there, especially online now. So how do you differentiate between things which are real and which are not real? Yeah, and think the thing is like kids growing up at this age now, they see everything as virtual as something that is so-called real to them already, because they're just so used to it. Technology is always there for them ever since day one they were born. Yeah. Okay. Right. So that could partly go to the action plan that we have there. So what else? Do you think actually women, I mean, maybe for us, most of us are in the education field, but what about women who are not entirely in the education field? Do you think they are digitally literate?
Can I just say something about that? I find it interesting. I think it goes across the field, whether it's education or not. I think there's some this gap between the age or the generation. So, because I find that, even for, this, for example, like your father, my father, for example, he's a lecturer. So, you'll be thinking like what Dr. Khaira was saying, you guys are, having to take some time to actually go through among the lecturers, the elder generation themselves, to go through, to make them well versed on how to present slides or how to present to do presentation on webinars and all. So it's also in the medical field as well. You can actually see that nowadays also all the ITs, technicians are very popular because they help us out a lot also because this thing it's dynamic, it's moving very fast. At one moment everyone's just using Zoom, now it's Webex, or you have Blue Jeans, so many things. And when you look at other countries also, they have their own portal that they like. So um yeah, I would say it's across the all the field, not only on the education. It's, medical as well. We're having the same issues and gaps as well, and not being digitally literate. Yep, that's my point of view.
Okay, right. Thank you, Dr. Dalila. So the gap is within the generations and not so much on whether it's the field or not the field related.
Yeah, true.
Okay. Dr. Michelle Su, you have anything to add to it?
I think I agree with the comments and the points given by, especially about the knowledge gap between generations, because speaking to some of because my mom is a teacher and she's retired, but her friends who are still in school, female teachers, yeah, they do struggle with online classes, on how to prepare their lessons online. So I guess the way to to mitigate this would be to provide workshops and I think more hands-on classes for the older
Correct.
teachers or those of them
Generation.
who, yeah, for the older generation. Yes, yeah.
Just like how MDEC, if I'm not mistaken, they are doing workshop for entrepreneurs and for digital marketing, digital business. Maybe Ministry
Yes.
of Education should do the same for teachers, and also Ministry of Women Development can do that for the women, I think.
Okay, thank you.
In terms of the I just
Asmawati, you
Yeah,
want
yeah.
to say something?
Yeah, I would like to add some points. I agree with Dr. Aulia and Dr. Khaira what you have mentioned just now. But what I would like to highlight some maybe some aftermath effect because it will contributes to a lower employment status, poorer health, higher levels of crime and gender inequality. So it's important for us because I heard someone said that many girls arrive to womanhood without completing primary school or acquiring basic literacy skills. So I think that's all for I would like that's all the points that I would like to highlight based on the some points given by Dr. Khalia and Dr. Olia and Dr. Khaira. Yeah, I think that's all.
Right. So you believe that there are many who seems to step into adulthood not actually being
Yes.
properly trained enough to take up the responsibilities that they need to.
Yeah.
Is that right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Great. Okay. Anything else you want to share on this? Dr. Dalila, you were trying to say something, is it?
In terms of another issue that I find interesting is, you know how we are now running the PDPR, which is home. They are utilizing all this digitalized knowledge sharing through digital. So I think this is also a very important aspect where we need to also fine tune that process because in the future because we don't know whether this pandemic will end soon. So we, in thinking of future of our generation where they have to go through the PDPR, like just now we're talking about maybe lecturers talking about students in like university students, but there's a bigger issue in terms of the younger generation, which is the one going to school. So they have to go through PDPR at home because I see that there's a lot of issues in that in the sense that is it really working that the way it's being done now. Like I just give you one example, like for my daughter, for example, like she's in standard one, and she's asked to learn about mathematics on pembundaran. So the way it is being done, not all the time that it is a live session. So many times they are actually given like just YouTube videos for them to assess by themselves and then expected to do the work. So, these are the gaps which I think we also need to address, not only for universities level, but all the way down to especially the younger ones, the standard one, the standard two, the one going to school, because it's all involving learning through, using the digital world, but it's, whether it's working or not, because at the moment we have no choice. That's the only way that we are learning. They are learning right now because definitely no physical apa face to face learning, right? So um yeah, uh, that's another thing that I feel that we also need to look into and fine tune that.
Okay, right. I get you, Dr. Dalila. Yeah. So basically it goes back to the first point that was mentioned just now. The entire education seems to need to reform, like what Dr. Khaira said. We have always been like adding things to it, but not actually thinking about what's really necessary to add. And when we add something, does it mean that we need to retain everything that was existing before? Or should we actually rethink about the entire education system, what's really needed to be in and what's not needed, it should be out. Yeah. So that should actually foster better digital literacy, and hopefully one day we have better citizenship for everyone, including us women. Do you have any other points to add to the discussion? We have one last row there, which is like etc. Line issue. You have line issue that you want to bring up?
I think I don't know where to put this, like either maybe it's in the community or something like that, but um so I don't know if there's like a channel whereby so we discuss about mental health, but also like for example within university we have like a town hall kan, macam kita panggil town hall for how we want to live. But I think in for example people who don't have like it's not in any organization or just like macam suri rumah or something like that, how can they voice out their things that they think that can be a way to improve the condition of a community or something like this? How can they actually do this, or how they can actually impart this, or a channel, or not channel, like convey their message for people who in the higher up who can make decision to hear them. So because I don't see there's any way to do that in Malaysia, unless if you like start viral kind something, then people will hear you, or like you do through Twitter and things like this. But I don't know if that is really the channel that we want, because for example, I really just want to make an aduan about something, and I need like you said, like to close the circle, not just me pergi buat aduan to, for example, MBBJ, but it's not being addressed. And it's not probably just aduan, it's more like how can we want to improve a certain condition or a certain issue that we want to address in terms of community, or just like for this, like education wise, yes, we have PIBG, but then what happened then? I don't see there's a way of us to really communicate with kementerian or something like this,
Correct.
if that makes sense. Yeah.
I think maybe like I said, Ministry of Women Development, they should have a platform for us, for women to communicate to each other. And for me, the working women maybe have their own ways how to address their issues and problems. But for the housewives, they don't have a proper platform to discuss on their problems and so on. So instead of vent it to the Facebook, and then having people criticize and being judgmental to her, maybe a proper platform such a website and a media social that focusing on those categories should help them also.
So it's kind of like starting a women community club, yeah, within your
Correct.
own taman ke, kind of like
Maybe
community center, right?
state punya government can do something, kan? Instead of the federal government, maybe state government can start small, maybe. Because for me myself, I have I've joined FB groups that is called Queen Persona. That was initiated by several image consultant. So they share on communication, they share on a lot of issues. And I think that is a good way to help women to let them know that they are not alone. So that would be a better future for women, I think.
Okay, all right. Anything else from the rest? No? Okay, thank you very much, actually, for your time and for all your great ideas. And I really enjoyed this session with you all. think it was really nice to hear so many different opinions and ideas on how we can actually empower women for a better future, right? Um, I really do hope that one day we can have that desired future that we have mentioned there just now, when we are also supportive of each other and where we are no longer being discriminated, where
Yeah.
we are seen as who we are and not our physical outlook.
And what we wear.
Yeah, and not what we wear. That's right. That's so true. Right. Thank you so much for your invaluable time and also views this morning. I hope to see you again in the afternoon. Yeah. Just a note from the organizer. The second session on topic 2, Pelajar Institusi Pengajian Tinggi by the panels, the sesi perbincangan, will be at 2 p.m. So we will see you back at Dewan Maya A at 2 o'clock for the panel discussion. And then after that, I'll see you again here for our discussion in World Cafe. Okay.
Thank you, Michelle. But I won't be
Okay,
joining
thank
in
you,
the
Michelle.
afternoon. So I
Okay.
guess I'll bid my goodbye here. I would just like to know, like, what would happen? I mean, like, after we have discussed this, so what is the outcome? Is there going to be like, are you going to share the documents, or will there be like a closing ceremony too? I'm not sure what happened next.
Okay, what happened is after this, Husna will tidy up this whole document and she will pass it to the moderator for the entire forum. Then
Okay.
I believe they will kind of like summarize and also take note on some of the action plan that was suggested
Right.
and
Okay.
hopefully make it into a real thing.
Oh, okay, cool.
Okay,
All right.
cool.
Okay, thank you very
Okay,
much.
all
It
right,
was nice
yep.
to see you here.
Okay,
All
have
right.
a good lunch. Yep, stay
You
safe and
too.
have a nice day. Thank you so
Thank
much,
you.
everyone.
Thank you so
Goodbye.
much. Okay, bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
See you. Hello and salam sejahtera. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to World Cafe session for discussion for topic 2. Thank you for joining us again, those who were with us in the morning, and welcome to those who have just joined us this afternoon. Thank you very much for taking the time to join us for this focus group discussion. So my name is Michelle, and I'm your facilitator for this session. And we have here Miss Nur Husna. She will be the rapporteur taking notes for the discussion, and she'll be sharing the screen on the notes that she's taking for this discussion. So there are 5 topics that we need to look at, and you see it in your screen here. The first one is on kebolehpasaran dan keusahawanan. That's marketability and entrepreneurship. Then we have digitalasi dan pekerjaan masa depan. That's digitalization and future workforce. The third one is on isu sosial, kemiskinan B40 and dan lain-lain social issues, poverty and B40 and etc. Then the fourth one is on kesihatan sexual dan reproductive. So we're going to look at sexual and reproductive health. We'll probably touch on things like sugar book as well. And then the fifth one is on STEM. And when hopefully we have some time for other issues that you might bring up afterwards. Okay, so we have 2 hours for this discussion. That means that we have 20 to 25 minutes for each topic that we have here in front of us. So I see some new faces here. So maybe before we start, we can just go around the room to just like introduce yourself. And it would be great since the group is not that big actually. Maybe you can turn on your camera and you can kind of like have a feel of the humans in the room here. So it's not so cold and talking to the screen. Dr. Olia, would you like to start first?
Okay, Assalamualaikum and salam sejahtera to everyone. My name is Nur Aulia Fahada binti Musaidin. I'm from College Universiti Islam Pahang Sultan Ahmad Shah, KIPSAS, College Kerajaan Negeri Pahang. I think that's all for me. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, Elena.
Assalamualaikum, good afternoon. My name is Elina. I am from Infrastructure University Kuala Lumpur in Bangi. I am a lecturer and also the franchise coordinator for postgrad, especially for our international program, overseas program. Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Asmawati.
Yeah. Okay. All right. My name is Asmawati binti. As I mentioned earlier, my name is Asmawati binti Cik Ismail, and I'm from the International Islamic University of Malaysia, and currently working as senior assistant director or known as faculty administrator. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm not an academic staff, but I am the faculty administrator. Yeah, right.
Dr. Dalila.
Assalamualaikum. I am Dr. Dalita. I am public transportation in Ministry of Health Malaysia. Okay, thank you.
And you are driving. Drive safely, yeah. Okay. Dr. Noraida.
Hi everyone.
Hi.
My name is Noraida. So I'm the director of Center for Research on Women and Gender, USM. So thank you everyone for joining us today. So I will be in and out because my center actually also has a program running with JPW also with BPW also. So I will be in and out of the group. So thank you.
Thank you for joining us. And Farhana.
Okay, good evening. My name is Farhana. I'm a lecturer at College Islam Teknologi Antarabangsa Kitab Pulau Pinang, and currently I'm a student, PhD student at Center of School of Educational Studies, USM.
Nice meeting you. Right. So thank you very much for your introduction. So let's begin. Okay. So for each of the subtopic that you see in front here, there are 4 things that we should be talking about. So the first one is on keadaan masa depan yang dikendaki. So what is your desired future for the particular topic that we're going to talk about? And then you can also talk about the current state of affairs. And then what are the identified issue or gaps, okay, for that particular topic? And lastly, what action can we take to move things forward? Okay, right. So let's look at the first one on kebolehpasaran dan keusahawanan. So what is the desired future for women in this area? Anybody want to start?
Okay. I go first.
Okay.
For me, in terms of kebolehpasaran ni, maybe our education system should do something about the education that they provided to the students. Because as we can see, sometimes we took different courses and then we have a different job. Kan? Compared to kalau macam Jepun, they develop the skills and so on. So that daripada sekolah menengah ni, pelajar tu dah tahu dah dia nak ke bidang mana. So dia dah ambil dah dia punya aliran, and then akan ada job opportunity yang dia nakkan. Macam tu. So kalau macam dia lebih kepada kemahiran bertukang, so dia akan go to that field lah. So nanti habis saja belajar, dia akan jadi someone in that field. Macam tu. Compared to macam kalau kita tengok Malaysia, mostly yelah cakap pasal kerja ni dia rezeki kan. Tuhan nak bagi kita kerja lain, bidang lain. Tapi somehow I think education system can help in terms of forming a system that can help students ni when they graduate, they can find a job in their field first before they enter another field. That one.
Okay.
Boleh saya tambah sikit Kalau kita tengok among of the MQA requirement in our course plan, in our course outline, keusahawanan, entrepreneurship. Like Dr. Aulia said, tapi not all course yang ada diterapkan kebolehpasaran dan keusahawanan. Okay, like, contoh kalau orang tu macam business, okay, bolehlah nampak kalau dia history kan, kalau dia social studies ke macam psikologi, so kadang-kadang student and lecturers tak nampak kat mana dia nak selit keusahawanan tu. Itu yang kami hadapi kesukaran. So macam kalau nak start up new business pun macam susah kan. End up most of my students pun ramai yang jadi deliver food panda, grab food. That's je yang dia orang boleh nampak keusahawanan. Dari segi lain tu macam nak betul-betul nak jadi pengusaha keropok lekor ke, macam nak jadi something yang tu macam saya tak nampak lagi. Itulah yang kami hadapi dalam kos kami lah.
Okay. So that is actually you're describing the current state, the current situation that we are facing, yeah. So there seems to be a kind of like a gap between what we are receiving in the education system and then
what the industry want pun
also
the same
the
thing.
marketability in actually the industry demands and everything, yeah. Okay. So anything else to add, Dr. Elena? Yep, Dr. Asmawati?
Yeah, may I add? I would say that for desired future state, maybe we can add some Tracking model, or if let's say we in terms of entrepreneurship, we can always have the entrepreneurship ecosystem so that the students are ready with these kind of things. Yeah.
So you mean in the education system, we already provide them opportunities to kind of like display or apply their entrepreneurship skills?
Yeah, because I can say that at the moment, for example, for in our university, the students are only provided with theory classes, and then they have to do like certain programs which is related to entrepreneurship, but they did not provided with these apa tu orang panggil, the tracking model, so that they can have their own role, and then they have their structured entrepreneurship system and so on and so forth. And then what else? Maybe the entrepreneurship ecosystem. So we should have the proper entrepreneurship ecosystem. I have visited National University of Singapore. I think last 3 years macam tu. So I'm impressed with NUS because they provided the students with this so-called entrepreneurship incubator. So everything is provided for the students so that they can macam mana nak cakap, they are familiarized with these entrepreneurship things. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so there is a proper incubation stage for them before they're actually like go into the actual industry, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Yes.
Can I say something?
Okay.
Yes, yes, Dr. Noraida.
Okay. When we talk about the future state, the desired future state, I think the bigger picture is in this context of discussion is we really want equal access, opportunity, and result for both men and women in the context of entrepreneurship. So it also means that we know that there are some disparities between the ability of men and women to, for example, for a startup, to establish a startup. So we know in our we have a sense amongst our students that both the men and the women in the universities, when we introduce the course on entrepreneurship, or even when someone has not taken the course, there are a lot of resourcefulness amongst our students about entrepreneurship. So both female and male students are active in a lot of entrepreneurial activity. But the problem is when it comes to, for example, actually having a startup, we can see sometimes that the statistics for young people starting up companies is more men than women. So we do need to understand. Okay, so the outcome is actually the equality that we want in entrepreneurship. So if you look, for example, where women businesses are and where men's businesses are. I mean, I'm not an expert in this area, but this is something. If we say we want the equality, then we will work backwards and see and study what exactly is the problem for women and what exactly is the facilities or the advantages that men have in this context. So I think the outcome that we want in the future is that there is equality in context of in the context of entrepreneurship, and how then we facilitate the situation where women because this actually have also something to do with SDG 8 on economic empowerment, to ensure that there are economic empowerment for all, and also the situation of economic empowerment for women is still very, very low. So how can entrepreneurship assist or facilitate women into increasing their economic empowerment? So I think these are some of the early remarks that I have. Thank you.
Right, thank you, Dr. Noraida. Does anybody want to add to that? Yes, Dr. Olia, you're muted.
I think I think that maybe industry can also help the education sector in terms of maybe mentoring the students, female students especially, so the female entrepreneurs can help to mentoring our female students to become a good entrepreneurs, and also industrial people to help in terms of kebolehpasaran, marketability of the students, female students especially.
So it's like collaborating with the industry to actually provide better mentorship to the students.
Yeah, because I think
So-
that there is the gap between in terms of kebolehpasaran and keselamatan is that what the education sector provided is not what the industrial needed. That one. For example, macam
that's true.
sekarang, zaman sekarang ni kan, kalau kata student in business field and then marketing field, what they will learn in education sector is basically traditional business. But what the industry need is digital marketing, where people and education sector should collaborate to come out with a better education system that provide those knowledge and skills to the students.
Okay, all right.
Okay.
Yeah. So
Right,
I
that's
think that
all.
is kind of like going to be one of the suggested action plans that we can do. Yeah, to actually
Yes.
have a better equality in terms of the marketability and entrepreneurship opportunities. Okay. Dr. Dalila, you have anything to add?
Not really. It's a kind of like not a common topic for me, so I'm actually learning more at the moment.
Okay.
And I'm trying to think of how to, but I like the idea on because I remember last time in school we do have persatuan entrepreneur. So I do remember it being inculcated to us in school. It's just that I feel that there's a need now to maybe strengthen the module, like how we were talking earlier about having certain module in school. So because we can see that it's something that we need to foster among from young, and I also like the idea that what Dr. Aulia pointed out on how we have to change from the conventional to the digital way of marketing things, like the new or the in thing with the marketing right now. So maybe we can also focus on that.
Okay, great. Yep, so that could be also put into the action plan as
Can
well.
I add something?
Yes.
Nowadays,
Sure.
we are living in an online environment. So I think we need to enhance these online platforms among the students. Okay, like we have like Lazada, Shopee, Shopee, and then we need to enhance student skills. Maybe they can try and join and promote their business. Okay, starting from the university about these platforms.
Okay, right. Thank you very much, Farhana.
Can
Dr.
I add something from
Yes,
Dr. Aulia
Dr.
just
Alina.
now? I agree with her suggestion to have the collaboration with the industry, with the, let's say, with the entrepreneur out there. And one more thing, we also can get this entrepreneur to provide input, especially for the subject itself, like removing the traditional entrepreneurship or traditional marketing, and now looking into this digital or online marketing thingy. So to make the course itself become interesting for students, because from my observation, sometimes some students just treat this entrepreneurship course for the sake of passing, but they don't really and the input, because they might see because things may be taught in the course are less relevant with what is happening nowadays. So we can make the course itself interesting, so we can start nurture them from let's say from university, and once they graduate they already have this basis of entrepreneurship skills with them.
Right, great idea. Thank you very much, Dr. Elena. So anything that you want to add to this particular topic before we move on to the second one? No? Okay. So let's move on to the next topic is on digitalization and future workforce. So what's your take on women's role in this, and what's the desired future for us women in digitalization and future workforce?
Okay, for digitalisasi and pekerjaan masa depan, like I said before, we need to enhance all those digital platforms, and we need to give, like Dr. Elena said, we have to um, provide module for students on the mobile entrepreneurship, mobile platforms, and also not only local but internationally, so they are exposed to this online and digitalization, so they can create job for many people. So we need to train them and have a proper module, how to establish an account, what are the procedures to have online account for business, SSM, and whatsoever. That means, like for me, we have, if we know all the steps, the module, and then only we can have a first step. Thank you.
Okay, so you mean to say that we need to have wider opportunities for women in digitalization and in the future workforce? That's your desired future for the women, right?
Yes.
Okay, all right. So what about the rest of the participants? What do you think?
Okay, I want to add something. When we talk about digitalization and pekerjaan masa hadapan ni, as we can see that we have many works that sebelum ni tak wujud. For example, content creator and then social media manager and so on. So, those works tak semestinya, macam mana nak kata, kita boleh open kerja-kerja untuk digitalization ni kepada suri rumah for part time. Maybe that can help them to generate income also. Okay. So mungkin in terms of macam provided workshop and then seminar on housewives to generate income should be good in the future, I think. Sebab macam bila kita cakap tentang digital business ni, sebenarnya dia punya skop kerja tu terlampau banyak untuk dilakukan oleh satu orang, macam tu, untuk organisasi tu sendiri. That's why dia outsource it to other people. So mungkin it can help the housewife to generate income, and also students to have a part-time job, female students lah especially. Kan?
So maksudnya dengan teknologi ni dah boleh banyakkanlah peluang pekerjaan untuk lebih ramai wanita lah.
Peluang pekerjaan yang betul, pekerjaan yang tak ada sebelum ni. Macam tu. Macam kalau macam sekarang ni pun kita tengok banyak. Macam fotografi pun, videografi pun orang dah boleh buat sendiri sebabkan ada apps ni kan. So benda tu sebenarnya boleh mencipta kerja untuk masa hadapan. That in terms of business field lah. Sebab saya daripada latar belakang tu kan. So itu yang saya nampak lah. Macam tu. And then mungkin again industry people need to collaborate with the education. Example, maybe in terms of theory, it can be provided by the lecturers. In terms of practical, maybe it can be provided by the industry. I think that's all from.
Thank you. Dr. Elena? Would you like to add?
I view digitalisasi this for example, we can empower women untuk master all the digital skill. So then they can, it is not necessary for them to be physically available at the workplace. So as long as they have, let's say, laptop, internet, they can work anywhere, they are convenient. At the same time, they can have this work-life balance, take care of the family, at the same time working, maybe contributing towards the economy of the family. So because we are on digital platform, so reduce the, so macam working hours maybe for women only half day dekat office, the remaining they can do it at home. At the same time they take care of the children, boleh ambil anak balik sekolah and so on. So but to balance this, mungkin sebelum ni ada ramai yang have to sacrifice their job, but with digitalization, they can still keep their job, okay, contributing to the industry, contributing to the family and country.
Right. Thank you very much. Dr. Asmawati, would you like to add to that? How about Dr. Dalila? Your opinion?
Okay. Like who said before? Like Dr. Aulia said, macam fotografi dan sebagainya pun macam semua orang dah boleh buat. Tapi kita boleh juga create. Okay, I'm not from a business or whatever studies. Okay, but I can see that we can create job opportunities for like web designers. Okay, page product designer. Okay, all are done online. So we can enhance women by doing all this, but without training or with training. If without training, like we can see how to design a web using okay, through YouTube, and then we can design our own website lah, and then product, okay, a pamphlet, okay, online marketing, semua tu perlukan design. So itu pun boleh jadi peluang pekerjaan lah kepada orang. So kita boleh empower women lah melalui design-design macam ni kan, sebab kadang orang perempuan ni seni dia lain berbanding orang lelaki. Mungkin itu salah satu peluang pekerjaan lah yang boleh diusahakan, yang saya cadangkan.
Okay, thank you, Farhana. Dr. Noraida, would you like to share with us your thoughts on this?
Sorry, I was at the other program, so I will come back.
Okay, no problem. Okay, so yes, Dr. Dalila.
I think if I can just add for the issues or the gap that I see from the opinion that was given, I think that all this is good as long as we can address the issue on the process of getting everyone have the accessibility for that digitalization. You need the internet, Wi-Fi, laptop. So if we can strengthen that as well, because you can back to this morning discussion again, we have problems with terms of GDPR and strengthening the digitalization of creating job opportunities. If we cannot address on the gap where not everyone has the accessibility for the Wi-Fi and the internet. So I'm just focusing on the column on the gaps there, that maybe we can have policies or more NGOs or industries to support that as well. And when everyone is equipped with that, then it will be much easier for everyone to also be part of that job opportunities that we have through this digitalization. Thank you.
Right, thank you very much, Dr. Dalila. So she has mentioned that it's the accessibility that is the biggest gap there that we need to address. So, and in addition to that, of course, the NGOs and whichever other organizations can come in to train all these housewives and those who have maybe, changed the job scope or whatever to accommodate to their new lifestyle of having a family and so on. So accessibility is the one that is most important, I suppose. Yep. Okay. So anything else you want to add to this before we move to the next topic on social issues? No? Okay, so let's move on to social issues that are faced by women. So some of the issues that are stated here is poverty, B40. So what are your thoughts on this? What is the desired future for people who are so-called in the disadvantaged group? What would your desired future be for people who are disadvantaged?
This one, I think it will be a controversial issues because we cannot say much because it depends on the government initiative, I think. For example, macam poverty, kita bukan saja ada poverty among B40 sebabkan oleh pandemik sekarang kita dah ada juga kemiskinan daripada M40. So what M40 can do is maybe they can find another job, part-time job, but again, what are government initiative to cater on the poverty issues, I think. So macam B40 lagilah kan, dengan pandemik ni bukan saja hilang pekerjaan, hilang pendapatan, sedangkan diorang ni kerja hari-harian kan, dia bayar mengikut hari. So macam sekarang ni tak boleh nak kerja luar, so dia nak kerja secara atas talian ni, dia tak ada access kepada internet yang baik, and then tak ada juga gadget macam mana yang diperlukan untuk bisnes online. So I think itulah, itu issues yang saya nampak lah current state. So for in the future, maybe government can do something on that good by providing a better internet connection to all places, including kawasan pedalaman. That one kan, the first thing first. Kalau macam kita nak kepada zaman digital akan datang, masa hadapan yang penuh dengan digitalisasi, so internet connection tu kena cover every area, including kawasan pedalaman. And then barulah kita pergi kepada apa yang diperlukan kepada digitalization tadi tu, gadget. So macam mana sebab macam apa yang ditawarkan oleh pasaran tak mampu untuk dimiliki oleh B40 kan. Even kalau kata handset pun paling murah pun still diorang tak mampu. Macam tu. So sebab tu saya kata benda ni dia lebih kepada apa yang mungkin government can do. I think that's all I got from me for now.
Okay, thank you. Dr. Nuraida, would you like to add? Yes.
Yes, please. Yes. Just I beg to differ a little bit with earlier. It's not a sensitive issue at all. It is an issue that we must talk about. I mean, the poverty and B40 issue. We in USM we used to focus, for example, on the. I mean, not use. We are still focusing, but we have a long time ago, we have started focusing on the bottom billion, the world's bottom billion. But actually the half bottom the half bottom billion, you know, out of the bottom billion, the most bottom are actually women. So I think and this is also something that a lot of the international instruments are talking about. Yang Malaysia juga have given a commitment to many of these international instruments that look into poverty issues. So you know, poverty issue is SDG 1, very, very important, and Malaysia, like any other country, has commit itself to the achievement of the targets of the SDGs. And SDG 1, one of the targets is really also the to eliminate any disparity between any gender disparity, any disparity with regard to other diversity like race, ethnic, people with disability, to make sure that groups, marginalized groups, come out of poverty. So I think this is very important as a framework. So really, what we want, what we desire, is actually for there to be no poverty. SDG 1, for there to be no poverty, regardless of who you are. So there will be no poverty. So then I mean, that is our desire in the end. So the inequality, SDG 10 inequality must be eradicated. So we can use this framework to determine what we want, to determine what we desire in the future. So the outcome that we want is that there is no poverty, that inequalities are reduced or eliminated. So those are very important aspects of what we desire. And then I think from there we can work towards how do we achieve, what is the current situation. So the current situation, yes, many M40 many people who are in M40 categories are now going to slip into B40 because of the pandemic. So very important to acknowledge this, and very important also to acknowledge that one of the first people that are affected by socioeconomic context of the pandemic is also women. You know, usually during economic crisis, this also happened when the first people to lose their jobs will be women, but women were already only 55.5% women are in the workforce, you know, in the labor force. So there are 40+% women who are not in the labor force, whose economy is already precarious. So if the other women are depending on the men for their economic sustenance, so it also means that when men lose their jobs, so women will be worse off because they don't have any social safety net, no security, and so on. So a lot of issues with regard to poverty and especially in times of pandemic. Women working in the private sector, for example, they will probably be considered to be the first to lose their job because there are also these social cultural contexts where that decide, if employer may say, if I want to terminate someone because of the economic situation, I would choose a woman first because the man will have to look after the family. So these are all the things where women are at risk of poverty. So these are some of the issues that need to be for in terms of trying to deal with the situation. For example, if we already know that there are about 40+ women are not in the workforce, what is their social safety net? How can the government help in terms of their social safety net? So things like setting up funds like a provident fund that was done, I think, previously. So I'm not so sure how far this has been carried forward. It was done in the last government, so I don't know how far it is being how far it's been carried forward in terms of providing the social safety net for women. Provision of microcredit, for example, for women to start businesses in order to overcome their situation. So these are all certain steps that can be taken to reduce poverty, or in fact to eradicate poverty. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Noraida, for sharing. So Does anybody else have anything to share on this topic? Yes, Dr. Alina?
I would like to add to Dr. Aulia regarding the infrastructure just now. I think government can provide the infrastructure, and one more thing, they have to ensure that the infrastructure is affordable for this group. So they can make, for example, this internet connection available. But if the cost to have the internet connections at home is something that they can't afford, then maybe this is not feasible for this group, especially for the poverty and the B40, for example. And I think one way to overcome the poverty, I would say education. But when we talk about education, it is still a huge area to look. Perhaps looking at maybe something that we can think about, make especially the college or tertiary education more affordable, especially for this group. I think that's all from me. Thank you.
Right, thank you very much for your points there.
Um,
Dr. Asmawati?
yeah, can I add some? We know that in Malaysia we have like minor group of female-headed households, or can be considered as single breadwinner of the family. So maybe what can we do? We can work together with government or policymakers so that they can get them to involve in any welfare organization and the relief committee, so that they can learn how to plan and then how to plan their life in terms of socioeconomics, and then in terms of financial and so on and so forth. So at least we know that these female headed households, they are lack in terms of educations, and then macam mana how dia punya pergaulan and so on. So by get them involved in this society, they can actually upgrade their life, their apa tu, dia punya social interactions with people and so on. Alright, I think that's the point from me.
Right, thank you very much, Dr. Asmawati. Right, so Dr. Dalila, would you like to add your thoughts to this? Farhana, you have anything to share?
No, I just want to add what Dr. Aulia said, like the infrastructure and internet connection. Yes, I agree. For me, like I'm living in Penang, okay, in the middle of the city, and the internet is still a big problem. Okay, some of our apartments does not supply like time, okay, Unify, 3M, okay, walaupun kita di tengah bandar betul-betul, tapi still internet is still the biggest problem. So for my students who are living at the Seberang Perai, okay, Permatang Pauh, and all having internet problem. Okay, so that's a big problem, and okay, and most of them are from the family background. Okay, they are from, I think, not from also the middle class. Okay, we can say like from lower class. Okay, so like there are some, okay, at this pandemic, some of my students, okay, their parents died due to COVID. Okay, and they have 7 to 8 siblings. And what should they do? Okay, like in our organization, okay, we Kitab Penang, we offer zakat. Okay, zakat for all, beasiswa zakat for all students starting from last year 2020. Okay, and that's some of the incentives lah, apa tu kita panggil langkah lah, okay, to ensure that these students can still further their studies, okay, continue their studies, and our fees also not too high lah, okay. And we do provide internet, okay. We subscribe from Celcom. We give the students free SIM cards, and they can surf not only like if like telephone, yes, okay, we just can Google Meet or what, okay, but our SIM card lebih open lah. Okay, not only for Google Meet, okay, they can access to Zoom, internet, okay, but they must have a good record, okay, they must attend the class, they must attend the exams. If not, so we will take back this SIM card, or we end our subscription with Celcom lah. But until now, it's seem to be okay, okay, a little bit okay, better, and we don't know how we are going to have a face-to-face real physical interaction again. So I think the issue of poverty, internet, infrastructure is a big issue to be covered for digital and online learning or working, okay. That's only from me.
Thank you very much. Yes, truly, as we move along with this whole pandemic and moving into the digital world, a new era, I believe the poverty, the gap between the rich and the poor will only actually grow bigger and bigger if you do not address the issues right now. Yeah. Okay, now let's move on to, I'm a bit conscious of time because it's almost 4 now. Let's move on to the next one, which is on Kesihatan sexual dan reproductive. So here, it's given an example here on sugar boat. Are you all aware of what sugar boat is? Yeah, okay, great. Right. So what is your thought on women's sexual and reproductive health? What is the desired future for us? How do we want our sexual and reproductive health to be, and how it should be?
I think regarding to these issues, maybe pendidikan seksual yang sebelum ni cuba untuk diterapkan dalam pendidikan tu perlu dibuat kot for the future. Sebab benda tu sebenarnya boleh prevent perkara-perkara seperti sugar book. Because I think in those issues of sugar book tu, application tu, maybe they don't realize that they are being manipulated for sexual pleasure and so on. And then in terms of diorang buat tu sebabkan income kan, benda tu kan. So macam dia banyak isu sebenarnya. Dia cakap tentang yang sugar book punya issues tu. Dia relate kepada student ni dia tak cukup duit, so dia nak ada wang tambahan, so they instead of doing business, they choose that platform to generate income. And then in terms of sexual education pun, I think in the future benda tu tak sepatutnya jadi tabu kot in our culture. For now, I think that's all from me.
So you're saying that there should be more appropriate content on
sexual education.
Sexual education in school, compared to now, where I think it's kind of like very basic, where I think the focus of it is not enough on maybe things like who can touch you and why they cannot touch you and so on, that sort of thing. Is that what you're trying to mean?
Yeah.
Okay, right.
Can I add something?
Yes.
Like I agree with Dr. Aulia. This kita panggil masalah social lah, all these social issues not only happens during the at the tertiary education level, but from the school. Okay, nowadays we can see students, okay, primary students, okay, how I want to say, like the issue of pedophilia, okay, the issue of adik angkat, okay, abang angkat, okay. Daripada kecil lagi kita tak sekarang ni kita tak boleh tengok yang besar saja, okay, because sejak lahir lagi semua dah ada handphone. So kita panggil jenayah sosial yang berkaitan dengan sexual and reproductive ni sangat advance, far from our knowledge. Okay, mungkin kita sekarang ni kita tak nampak, tapi when we scroll the Facebook, okay, we can see like what said Azmi, saya boleh baca dia punya apa ni Facebook sometimes macam tak masuk akal. Okay, problems ni kan. So kerajaan perlu saya bukanlah nak salahkan kerajaan kan, tapi kita perlu tengok take benda tu secara besar. Okay, salah satunya disebabkan duit, sebabkan money juga. Okay, ada yang menjual tubuh, okay, dia tak kisah asalkan contohlah kan lelaki tu boleh tanggung makan minum pakai dia, it's okay. And then after 3 or 4 months, okay, they change another man, okay. So they bukan dia tak tahu nilai maruah tu kan, tapi kadang-kadang kesempitan hidup tu, okay, kesempitan hidup, mungkin masalah ibu bapa yang macam tak beri perhatian pada dia, all this can affect pembentukan seseorang children tu lah, okay. Jadi bila dia besar tu macam sugar book dan sebagainya ni, dia jadi macam dia nampak satu pekerjaan yang macam wow, allowance pun banyak, okay. Kalau dia miskin, cara yang miskin. Kalau sugar book ni, kalau kaya, cara kaya. Macam contohnya, sorry to say, macam pelacur kelas atasan dan sebagainya. So dia nampak itu sebagai satu profesional, sebagai satu kerja yang profesional, kan? So kita nak ubah stigma ni dalam masyarakat. Saya pun tak tahu siapa yang perlu mainkan peranan lah, okay? Tapi sebagai kita sebagai dari from the family, okay, from at the school, at the community, okay, like previously we have class on education and community. Macam kawasan apa tu dekat Perak, selama larut matang dengan apa yang saya tak ingat. Okay, walaupun dia di kawasan pedalaman, tapi kes-kes sumbang mahram, kes apa ni, ni lah, rogol bawah umur, apa semua ni macam terlalu tinggi. Walaupun dia di kawasan pedalaman kan, tapi tinggi. So macam mana budak-budak ni dapat akses kepada benda-benda tu? So macam mana kita sekat dia punya platform dan sebagainya? Kita ada ke Google search tu, kita ada tapisan tak? Macam mana ditapis? Siapa yang provide sumber, menyumberkan benda-benda ni kan? So saya tak tahulah daripada multimedia ke sebagainya kan, macam mana daripada media tu kita just type satu word je, okay. So kita ada banyak, kita boleh tengok video, YouTube, gambar, web, apa semua kan. So itu satu benda yang kita kena tackle lah, ya. Walaupun kita maju, kita nampak kita punya ranking universiti nombor 1, 2, 3, education kita at the high level, but some of these social issues kita gagal lagi lah nak atasinya, okay. Dengan apa ni, bila pandemik ni makin bertambah isu-isu sosial ni, okay. Bila abang tak pergi bekerja kan, ibu bapa tak bekerja, duduk serumah dengan anak perempuan dan sebagainya. So itu semua menyebabkan tekanan. Jadi kita kena tengoklah, okay. Kita tak boleh buat apalah sebab COVID ni memang menyebabkan semua orang tertekan, okay. Jadi kita perlu ada peranan lah, okay, daripada sesiapa lah, kaunselor dan sebagainya, untuk tackle isu-isu ni. Sebab mangsa-mangsa ni dia selalu malu untuk berjumpa dengan kaunselor personally, untuk bertanya sebab stigma masyarakat kan. So macam dia akan dilabel sebagai apa dan sebagainya kan. Jadi kita perlu ada satu macam badan untuk melindungi lah golongan-golongan ni. Macam yang kita pergi kepada dia orang, bukan dia orang yang datang pada kita. Kita kena carilah benda-benda macam ni. Sebab kita nak sayanglah wanita kita kan. Lelaki tak ada apa untuk mereka kan. Lelaki dia tak ada apa. Yang efeknya perempuan. Okay. Kalau dia mengandung, okay, anak tu dan sebagainya. Okay, as a Muslim pula kita punya our laws are not just kahwin tanpa halal kan, tapi bila anak tu, nasab keturunan anak tu, okay, baby dumpling dan sebagainya kan, baby dumping kan, so macam-macam lah isu. So kita kena tackle lah, okay, masalah dia. Okay, thank you. Okay, sorry for talking too much.
Thank you very much, Farhana. Yes, I think I totally see your point, about how all these sexual issues are also related to other social issues such as poverty. Yeah, it's all just in our whole system that needs some kind of reform for things to work out better for us in the future. Right. So, Dr. Asmawati, would you like to share your thoughts?
Yeah. Maybe just when we talk about the roles of our society to educate our kids. For example, like Dr. Nurfahana mentioned just now, what is our role to educate our children, not to bergaul dengan lelaki and so on. But I think it is high time for us not to focus only to women to protect themselves. We can always have maybe some education for the men also, because sekarang ni what you have mentioned just now about the sugar book, when there is no demand, there will be no macam mana cakap, tak ada orang yang memberi.
So, supply.
There is no demand, there is no supply. Alright, thank you so much. Alright. So sekarang ni we have to teach the man or our boy the cause and effect of this. For example, maybe macam mana cakap, sorry, hard to say. Maybe we have to enlighten to the men that woman is not their sex toy, and then women are not meant to be manipulated and so on and so forth. So I think the role is not only for the woman but also the men. They have to know what is the consequences of every action that yang diorang dah buat lah. Yeah. Okay, right. Thank you.
So thank you very much. So it's not just educating the women, but also educating the men as well, like what we have said in the earlier discussion in the morning. Yeah, it's about bringing our boys up the correct way and teaching them how to respect the female roles. Right, Dr. Dalila, you have something to share with us?
Yeah, I finally stopped my car. I think
okay, that's better.
Yes. Okay. I kind of like have special interest in this topic because I did my PhD on teachers' preparedness in delivering sexual and reproductive health education in school. So I think this topic is one is the problem with SRH or reproductive is that how we are empowering each of the groups. So one is we're talking about the women. Okay, we want to empower the women. Second is we want to also empower the children, because we can see now the vulnerable group is actually the children. I think now it's being viral on how there's this one Down syndrome kid, Bella, right? She's being abused. So that's like abuse, like you have a lot of other issues where like what you all have pointed out, like with this pandemic, we see that semua pun duduk dalam satu rumah, and a lot of people being molested or sumbang mahram. And how do we actually help is one is the empowerment of the children themselves, because if children are not voicing it out or not reaching out for help, or they don't know what's happening to them. A lot of situation in the medical field as well, a lot of situation, the underage or the one yang kurang upaya but being molested is because they don't know what's happening to them. they don't know that they are being sedang diperlakukan, dirogol, or so those are one extreme. Tapi sekarang pun kita ada juga ekstrim yang mana the school students, they are addicted pula. So these are the girls, they are addicted to sex because of the exposure. We're talking about the sugar book, the the Tinder, all these apps that we have on social media. So you have a few extremes that's going on, and I think it all goes back to how macam tadi di pedalaman is. I think a lot of situation is because they are unaware of what's happening to them. The education is not there. The empowerment within themselves is not there. So there's a few issues there that and it's true that it's a holistic approach that needs to address this. Maksudnya we have the medical people, the NGOs, the government, the Jabatan Kebajikan Masyarakat. A lot of people play important role, teachers, and it's like it has to be a collaborative effort. But for me, in my opinion, is that I also agree. Like for men, they play an important role. Like in a small unit, like say in the family. As Muslim, we believe that like the father plays the big role of making sure that everyone in the family is on track. So if and this include actually it's not supposed to be a stigma where you want to teach your children about sexual and reproductive health. Saya bagi contoh lah, for example, like how we have our menses, our period, right? So actually for Muslim, it's important to know how when they reach their puberty, they must know how to clean themselves. So in order for them to perform the solat and prayers. So actually a lot of sexual reproductive health content or topic is related a lot with our religious practice. If each family can inculcate this properly and strengthen this knowledge at home, so we can actually, to begin with, our boys will know how to respect women. They know that it's not right. They must respect the boundaries. To cover properly, and to not. All of this is things that we can inculcate from young. So like we were talking about the sexual reproductive health education, actually is in the subject syllabus under pendidikan jasmani and kesihatan. But honestly, from the findings that I had when I did the studies, a lot of teachers, they are not comfortable to teach because what they are supposed to teach is not in line with their moral values. Sometimes you have to teach about condom and all that. So it's maybe it's not in line with our values, or sometimes they are also shy because it's not it's a taboo, right? So they are afraid of what the children will think of them talking about it and all. So in the future, I hope that we can change that as well, by exposing more parents. And another thing that I think can be an option is also to incorporate it in our as a parenting module. So sexual reproductive health in parenting module. So like how for women, for the Muslim, kalau nak kahwin kena pergi kursus kahwin, right? So it has to be strengthened there, kursus kahwin. So before you even kahwin, you must also learn about all this sexual reproductive health. And contohnya dekat workplace, how we need to have CMEs. We can also incorporate that in our parenting skills, which is SRH topic. So that's my opinion on that. Thank you.
Right, thank you very much, Dr. Dahlia. That's for the insightful view. Yeah, I truly see your point and what you have mentioned there about teachers being very shy to teach the topic on reproductive health. I think most teachers are that way, yeah, because sometimes also they are afraid of how the students will react to it, and kids being kids, they always have many questions to ask. Sometimes the questions that I ask, and then the teachers find that they cannot answer and they feel embarrassed about it. And I think that's why teachers kind of try to stay away from the topic. Yeah. to avoid talking about it. But I think the more we stay away from it, the worse it will become. And children may try to, you know, satisfy their curiosity in their own ways, learning online, going to the wrong source, and therefore things like you know rape cases happen, or baby dumping kind of cases happen, all these kind of issues that can be caused by it. So I guess we probably have to be brave and to face it. Maybe we should also think about what was mentioned earlier. Is the syllabus that we are teaching in school on sexual and reproductive health sufficient enough? Because I'm not sure, but from what I remember, in my school days, they just teach you the biological part of it, but they don't really talk about things like who is allowed to touch you, yeah, and which part of your body can a person touch you, which part you should not allow others to touch you, and why is that so? I think these are some things that, like you have mentioned there just now, they don't know. They don't know what is happening to them when that thing happened to them, when people touch them, when people molest them, right? They actually are not aware that, oh, this is actually what it's not supposed to be, and I'm supposed to stand up for it, and they are not aware of it. So maybe that's why they are being so-called abused in a way, or harassed. Yeah.
And it can also be like as one of the gap. Like for example, like not enough, like it's not like the teacher's fault, but it's more of like we need to enhance in terms of the training. So not only that, I think the content is actually good. So far, like recently, they do include what you said, but in terms of like how do we make it as a hands-on, or how is it being conveyed to the student, meaning in a practical way where they see that, oh, okay, I need this, this is important for me. If it happens to me at home, then I know what to do. So more on the practical side of it, on how we apply the content in the children's life. Yeah, I think so. I think in the gap where you need more training on that, so we in the future we can actually improve that as well. And also the outlet, like how children or anyone who's being involved in this SRH problem, how they can actually reach out for help. Like what are the outlets that they can go? Maybe there's a call center where they can call. So that can also be like one of the on how to address the problem.
Okay, so proper training for teachers on how to open up this topic of discussion, and how to teach the students to apply what they have learned, right? Okay. Dr. Elena, you have anything to add to that?
I think no. Basically, I agree with everyone. So I think we can move to the next one.
Okay, all right. So let's move on to the next one, if there's okay with everyone. Yeah, I think all have given your thoughts. So next one is an interesting one on STEM. As we can see from the panelists, the presentation just now seems to have steady decline. Okay, not only for women but also for men in terms of their involvement in STEM education. So anything that is related to STEM. So what are your thoughts on this? What is your desired future? Do you think that we should be more involved in STEM or not? Anyone? Dr. Elena?
In the future, I think, of course, yeah, we would like to see more students pursuing in this field, but we see that the decline you mentioned just now, then we will have to address why there are such decline. So I myself is not from this field, and I think perhaps many students view it as difficult.
Mm-hmm. Sorry, can
I think that's all from me.
yeah, okay, all right, thank you. So that means to say we hope that there is a rise, hopefully, although what was shared by Dr. Ehsan just now, he mentioned that the data for 2020 and 2021 is not yet available, but there should be a rise after all the initiatives taken. But we do hope to see a better future in terms of STEM and more involvement for women. Dr. Olia, do you agree to that?
Yeah, I beg your pardon?
Do you agree? Do you agree to
internet connection?
sorry, okay, no problem. No, so do you agree to what Dr. Elena has said and also what I mentioned just now, that we do hope that there is a better future for women in STEM? We do hope to see that there is an increase in the involvement in
Correct,
STEM
exactly.
for women.
Exactly, for women. Especially in terms of course, science, technology, kejuruteraan and mathematics is ni important for us to have both gender. For example, kalau kata science, in health sciences, we need more female doctors, female nurses, and so on. For the technology itself, as we have more female entrepreneurs, so we should have more female technologists and female marketing specialists to help and cater more women, I think. Because as we can see, macam daripada luar negara pun banyak scientist and then and even astronaut kan, even leaders come from women. So women can go in this field, I think, to teach more women to become an expert in STEM.
Okay, thank you. Dr. Asmawati, what are your thoughts?
No, so I agree with Dr. Olia.
Okay. Dr. Dalila? Must be driving again. Farhana, do you have anything to share?
Okay. For STEM, science, technology, engineering, and maths, I read quite some articles stating that like from teknik and vocational, okay, kejuruteraan dan sebagainya. Most of our graduates, okay, when they go after they graduate, when they go to the industries, there are lacking, okay, from our syllabus and what the industry offers. Okay, so the industry, our students need skills. Okay, they need skills not only from the theory but the practical side. Okay, and in the universities, okay, some of the departments are lacking of these technological equipments. Okay, kita punya peralatan teknologi tu tak secanggih yang industry offers. Okay, so kita perlu tengok revise our curriculum. I don't know, okay, some universities have made these revisions, okay, untuk supaya kita ni lebih berdaya saing, okay, graduan kita lebih berdaya saing di industri. And from the woman side, walaupun di universiti banyak yang perempuan student perempuan belajar engineering, biotech, biomedik dan sebagainya, tetapi dia peluang pekerjaan opportunities are still limited. Most kebanyakannya lelaki lah, engineering dan sebagainya lah. Untuk perempuan ni agak limited. So kita kena create more job opportunities, untuk yang membolehkan nak menunjukkan kita pun boleh. Tak semestinya kita nak bersaing sesama lelaki, tetapi kita nak buktikan kita boleh guna apa yang kita belajar dan we serve something lah to our society. Kita in return lah kita pulangkan balik kepada negara supaya negara makin maju dan sebagainya lah. Dan my second point is yang sibuk sangat dengan STEM ni, I think that schools, secondary and primary schools, bila di tertiary education ni kita macam kurang sikit lah kita tak dengar sangat istilah STEM tu. So bila jadi macam ni, when we look at our children textbooks, we can see that their science and math syllabus are too high. And sometimes it is not practical. So because we have to consider we are living in society that ada yang miskin, ada yang varieties of background. So the first, kita tak tackle lagi kemahiran membaca. The students cannot even read, count, and they did not master these basic skills. So how they are going to further to STEM studies? So and the this is my point of view lah. So and this also difficulties for parents who are not master in STEM education. Macam-macam lah perkiraan. Bila sekarang ni darjah 6 pun dah macam silibus AdMed dah kan. XY dan sebagainya kan. So how are the students going to survive? Their parents also cannot teach them. So I think the issue of practicality in primary and secondary schools. And then the third issues, the third point is we have to look STEM, the term STEM, not only in industries. Kita kena educate our society, masyarakat, yang STEM ni bukan hanya untuk bekerja kilang, industri dan sebagainya. Orang yang jual kuih kan, dia pun aplikasikan STEM dalam kehidupan seharian dia. Bila dia timbang tepung, bila dia masukkan cecair dan sebagainya, berapa suhu dia punya oven dan sebagainya, itu pun salah satu konsep STEM. Dan ada keusahawanan. So we have to bagi masyarakat nampak apa sebenarnya STEM tu. Sebenarnya we are using STEM in our daily lives, tapi sebab kita ingat STEM tu benda yang macam bombastik sangat, kita jadi macam STEM tu mesti engineering, kilang, orang macam aerospace dan sebagainya. So from the basic level ni kita boleh terapkan. We can inculcate STEM education. Macam eksperimen telur masin, percambahan, berapa hari, matahari, air dan sebagainya. Itu semua ada unsur STEM dalam tu. Tapi kita tak nampak. Kita selalu ingat benda yang macam higher and higher. So kita nak aplikasikan STEM ni mestilah daripada primary school lagi sampai sampai ke tertiary lah. Like Japan, Finland dan sebagainya. Mereka buat sains tu satu subjek yang enjoyable. So macam daripada primary education lagi banyak hands-on activities dan sebagainya yang menyebabkan student dia master dalam benda-benda ni lah. And the fourth issue is insentif kerajaan. The government have to melabur lah, to invest in this science technological aspect. Okay, sebab kalau benda-benda sains teknologi ni perlukan bajet yang banyak. Kalau kurangnya insentif kerajaan tu susah kalau individu nak bergerak sendiri. Okay, that's all from me. Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much, Farhana, for all your views there. Yeah, I think yeah, I do agree that I think sometimes maybe people tend to think of STEM to the extreme, not knowing that actually STEM involves other things as well, even simple basic things like your ability to have analytical skills, critical thinking skills. That these are all the embedded skills that are needed, even though you might not be an astronaut or a rocket scientist at the end of the day. Yeah. So what was shared by Dr. Ehsan just now, saying that if we look at the World Economic Forum prediction about how things are going, the job landscape that is changing and what's for us in the future, it looks towards most of the jobs are based on STEM. So if our students are not picking up all these skills and are not getting involved in this STEM, therefore we might lose out in the very near future, right? Okay, so Dr. Asmawati, what is your opinion on this?
I'm sorry, I'm not focusing on this session because I have another session meeting with my organization. I'm so sorry.
Okay, so no problem. Okay, Dr. Jalila?
Okay, I think with regards to STEM, the point that I think I agree and we can actually look more into is on revising on the syllabus of our primary and our school level of how we are applying STEM. So I find it true that what Dr. Farhana just said, because looking at my own son, I can see that when looking at their syllabus, they are learning a lot of complex things which I thought that we only learn that later on when we are in matriculation and or higher or upper form. So in order because another thing is we also realize that even though Dr. Isan mentioned that most of the job prospect revolves around STEM subject, right? But I feel that the interest that we have among our students or our kids towards STEM is not as as how it's supposed to be. Like the prediction for the future doesn't resemble on what's looking at the interest that we have among our children because of the complexity of the syllabus. So I feel that there's a need to improve or revise the syllabus. And secondly is to as we talk a lot about digitalization, I feel that we must also find ways on how to incorporate this STEM in our digital platform as well, because it can be very like I can see that it's supposed to be something that we apply in our day-to-day life, like how to bake a cake, like all that has a STEM element to it. But as we are speaking also, there's a lot of element of digitalization. So we must also find ways to garner or spark interest among our younger generation towards STEM using the gadget, maybe like what they are exposed to more now. Um so yeah, I think that's two things that I can think about with regards to STEM. Thank you.
Right, thank you, Dr. Dahlia. So it seems like the complexity is like becoming the fear that is driving our students away from STEM, right? And that should call for a reform in the education system towards the syllabus in our STEM subjects. But I think it was also mentioned earlier by the panels that the job opportunities are there, the prospects are there for STEM related jobs, yeah, as is shown by the World Economic Forum as well. But is the fear of women when it comes to the time they have to choose between their career and their family. So as what the panelists shared earlier, there are a lot of STEM students, female students in school or in university. However, when it comes to the workforce, somehow we see a decline in women taking up roles in the STEM jobs. So what do you think about that? Like, how can we kind of like close that gap there?
Again, I think it's from young, because like in my mind also sometimes I always associate like engineering, like factories and all that with men. But if we were to actually put it in a very exciting way, from young, how science and all this it's actually more of applying it in our day-to-day life. And I have to share, like I noticed, like when you actually have there's a when I compare in terms of the preschool education in a private kindergarten, and on how they teach science in comparison to how our school is teaching science. So our school is teaching science more on the theory, whereas when actually science or all these STEM subject are actually something where it would be profound when it's being applied, when it's being seen, like how you make experiment and you mix things and you actually see, you can actually experience it with all your six or all your five senses. But we're not seeing that much in school. However, when you compare it, like sometimes kindergarten or private schools, they have that luxury to do so. So I think that will also reflect on how women may also perceive that later on. So um and 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 so if we can address that gap from the beginning, I would think that hopefully women would have a different perspective towards that. And at the same time, we go back to how the policy is supporting women. If the policy supports women, so even with them going into the work prospect where it involves all the STEM job, like mechanical engineering, all those, we always imagine it's a guy field. If it's supportive of women in terms of the system and the policy, I think that would also make it more women will be more open on taking up that challenge.
Right. Thank you very much, Dr. Dalila. Does anybody want to add to that? Any ideas on how to bridge the gap?
Michelle, can I ask you, we can see that from Chinese, okay, their education system is a bit high. Okay, so from the kindergarten, okay, what do you see compared to like the government schools? Okay, because we can see that all these Chinese parents, they really invest and work hard on their children education. So what's your perspective of view?
In terms of Chinese school, you mean?
Yeah,
Our
that we
Chinese
can see
local
they are more
schools.
advanced. Okay, so do you from Chinese school or sekolah kebangsaan?
Personally, I'm from Sekolah Kebangsaan, but
Oh,
I sent my both my kids now are in Chinese schools. Actually, my main reason for sending my children to Chinese school is because of the language, not so much because of the way education is being conducted in Chinese schools, because I though I'm a Chinese, sadly, I don't know how to use the language. I mean, Chinese language. I can speak um, basic Mandarin, but not anything more than that. I can't write, I can't read Chinese. So that was actually my primary motivation for sending my kids to a Chinese school so that they actually learn the language. Because to me, as you can see, the trend as it is going now with China market open, there are lots of job opportunities available. And if our younger generation is not given the opportunity to learn the language, I think they will be deprived of an opportunity. So that's my basic motivation for sending my children to Chinese schools. But I do understand that, yes, I do understand what you mean saying that Chinese schools, the way they teach the education system is very rigorous, very aggressive. That was also one of the things that my friends were all not supportive of my idea of sending my children to Chinese schools because they say that I'm just insane. It's going to be difficult because I myself don't know the language and I won't be able to help my children in their homework and so on. But that's also why I decided to send my kids to a Chinese school, but not a very popular one. It's a smaller Chinese school. Okay, so I wouldn't say that they are very relaxed. They still have that what you perceive as Chinese schools do. But they are less aggressive in a way that they provide opportunities for the kids to go at their own pace as well. Yeah. So in terms of the support that is given, I think you're right in terms of the investments being given to Chinese schools. A lot of it actually come from the 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 private funds like the PIBG. A lot of facilities and infrastructure in the school is provided by the parents themselves, not by the government. Yeah. So in a way that why maybe the 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 opportunities given to the students are slightly better. And I do also know that class size is a crucial thing. It's a very significant thing because in usual SK schools, the class size is extremely huge compared to Chinese schools. But then again, there are also many popular Chinese schools that I know. The class size is extremely huge, but then again, they have very good investments by the PIBG to ensure that the infrastructure can support that. So I think at the end of the day, with all these opportunities given and all, it still goes back to the mindset of each child. Okay, as we have mentioned earlier in our discussion in the morning, education begins from home. I think it goes back all the way to the home, how they are being nurtured at home and how their minds are being set. Simple things like STEM like this. If we were to start from home to actually show the kids that, look, knowing how to, like you say, tahu berat tepung kan, nak mengukur berat tepung tu pun mesti tahu kan. So that's also kind of like part of STEM. Simple things like this, they should be aware and not be overwhelmed to think that STEM is just something so difficult like rocket science. So that's my opinion.
Okay, thank you, Michelle.
And anybody else wants to add anything to this?
One more thing. Indonesia is regarded as a fastest country in STEM. Okay, I don't know how their educational system, but they are more advanced than us. Saya tengok banyak lah dia punya, their math syllabus also are far advanced than us. And I don't know, maybe they are provided, they are nurtured with the lifelong skills. I think maybe their environment, their pressure, life pressure makes mold them like that, I think lah. Like Indonesia, maybe in STEM, maybe they don't understand STEM, but semua pembangunan, pembuatan rumah, okay, pembinaan bangunan, okay, are monopoly by Indonesian people. So they are smart, and they are memang dia orang sangat advance lah dalam pembinaan, okay, pembinaan rumah, bangunan, pengukuran, okay, that's also a part of STEM. So we can have a look at their syllabus. Okay, we can maybe do some exchange. Okay, or we can do online talks like this. Okay, share their experience. What are their syllabus, entrepreneurship. Okay, but we have to look at their socio economic condition also lah. Okay, okay, that's only from me.
Right. Thank you very much, Farhana. Anybody have anything else to add? Or do you have any other issues that you want to bring up?
I think maybe on other issues, because nak cakap pasal STEM sangat pun saya tak tahu sangat pasal STEM, because I don't have children, so I don't expose to it a lot. Okay, but for other issues, maybe on women empowerment among younger generation, I think would be better. We should encourage them to themselves speak up for themselves, and for people to accept when they speak for themselves. Contoh macam yang isu baru ni kan, yang student dia expose sexual harassment dekat TikTok. People bash on her instead of looking at the perpetrator. Kan, ya, kepada yang melakukan tu, orang bash dia sebagai student yang voice out. Sebab kat Odeh, salah satunya sebab dia student perempuan tu lah. Orang bash on her appearance, orang bash on her performance at the school, but people not see the exactly what is the issues. That is one lah, I think. And then maybe in the future people stop objectifying women, as we speak on this topic this morning. I think that's all from me for other issues.
Anyone else would like to add? No? All right. So once again, thank you very much for your time and your contribution this evening. And just a message from the organizer. They'd like you to go back to Dewan Maya A, because we're going to have the closing at 5 o'clock. And then after that, there will be a link that will be given to you for the evaluation of the program that you have gone through today at the end of the closing. And then after you have filled in your details in the form, you will also be given your digital certificate for attending this forum today. Okay, so hope to see you back in Dewan Maya A at 5 p.m. for the closing ceremony. Okay, so take care, everyone. Stay safe. It's been a long day, and I just saw the numbers today are crazy. It's just crazy. It's like we have hit 5 digits already. I really don't know what to say. I've just lost my cousin brother-in-law this morning. My mom just told me that he has passed on due to COVID. And my cousin sister, his wife is still in the hospital, still relying on oxygen. So really don't know what's going to happen, but stay safe, everyone. Things are just going crazy. Take
I hope
care.
things will get
And
better.
I hope so too. I'm really praying. It's just been horrible. It's just so terrible. Yep. So take care, everyone.
Okay.
Okay, thank you, Michelle, and everyone also.
Thank you
Stay safe,
very much
everyone.
for taking part in this. Yeah. Stay safe. Bye-bye.
Bye.